Well, Richie, you got a while. You got that right.
I got a God-given microphone. I have to talk a lot of renovation.
Yeah, they said all these nice things about you. They said all these nice things about you.
Good. Good to hear.
It's good to see you again, Miss Man.
We good? Okay, so leave it there at 30. Let me know. Good evening, everyone. Please, we're going to call the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting January 9, 2025 to order. Please turn your cell phones to vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Right now, we'll keep it at 3 minutes. We're under 30 speakers. Last time we had 70, but if we get too many more, we may have to decrease that to 2 minutes because it was a little bit excessive, but I will allow 3 minutes at this time. Unless otherwise determined by the chairperson to allow sufficient time for all speakers, speakers shall refrain from the abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to the board members and questions raised by the board. Thank you. Commissioner Mayor, you have on vacation tonight?
Mr. Chairman, is it our goal to be out of here before midnight?
Well, I'd like to be out here by tomorrow, but if we need to go to Waffle House, we can.
Okay. Well, if we stay past 8, I'll stay.
That's
If we
the
stay
goal.
past 8, I'll stay as long as y'all want.
That is the goal.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. It is an honor to have the Pastor Fred Young, who is also our MLK commemoration chairman for the parade this year for the Martin Luther King celebration, and also the pastor of the Mount Canaan Baptist Church, where my predecessor, Marie Young, husband, was the founding pastor, and Fred Young is a part of Commissioner Marie Young's family and continues to do the ministry in District 3 along with Commissioner Young, and it's an honor to welcome to the podium for our invocation my friend, nephew of Commissioner Marie Young, pastor of the Mount Canaan Baptist Church, Pastor Young. Please stand and join me in the prayer.
Eternal God, our Father, again, we thank you for allowing us to see a new year, and therefore we ask your blessing upon this county commission. I pray, oh God, that you would give them your divine wisdom, your grace, and your guidance as they make decisions not only tonight in this board meeting, but even in in other meeting that will come on later throughout the year. I pray, oh God, that you'll give them ears to hear the concern of the citizen of this county, and that you continue to bless the entire staff of this county, oh God, and we pray for a blessed and prosperous year, and that you will continue to keep us and protect this county, oh God, in a mighty way. And I pray this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Young.
Thank you, sir. Ask the relievers and effects, Commissioner Hopper.
I pledge allegiance
Okay, gentlemen and ladies, is there anything to add to the agenda tonight, Commissioner Berry?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, the edits to the policy that we discussed this morning, we did, I think, hand the track changes of that out hard copy later this afternoon, so hopefully.
Did everyone get that? Okay. All right. Any items to add to the agenda, Commissioner Berry?
No.
Commissioner May?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stroberger?
No, sir.
Commissioner Berger?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Commissioners' Forum. Commissioner Berry?
Oops. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things I want to discuss tonight, neither of which are great news. There are two folks passed very recently that meant a lot to Escambia County, meant a lot to District 5, and certainly meant a lot to me. First, I want to recognize that, and thoughts and prayers going out to Gail Weaver. She was principal at Northview for many, many years from the inception of the school. She lost her husband a number of years ago, but she lost her son this week. So Toby was a young man that I first met when Northview won a state championship in 2012. The way championship rings are funded, you don't know these things until you have a reason to know, but comes through the school and through the capacity that the school has to what kind of rings they're going to get, how many rings they'll be getting. That was Northview's first state championship, and the county actually helped in the procurement of some rings and aided towards the purchase of those rings. And I met Toby at the ceremony. He was the super fan for the football team, and like I said, he passed away earlier this week, and just a tragic circumstance. He was a big Auburn Tigers fan as well as a big Atlanta Braves fan, but loved sports and loved his family, and loved that Brat Northview community, and they loved him. The second would be a little more closer personally. The love that comes out from a number of us, certainly myself, but towards Tony and Benita Jacobs, and they lost their son earlier this week, and again, a very young man, and goes out to Damien and Dana and their family and all the friends that the Jacobs have here. Just a tragic circumstance after a long fight. I know Damien was not well for a period of time, but he fought and made trips with with his mother and his father, and just keeping Dana and Benita and Tony in our prayers, and just a tragic circumstance to lose a child, especially to also see an extended fight like Damien had for a number of years. But thank you.
Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly, Steve, I want to say I see Ashton here, and Tony and Benita Jacobs are dear friends of ours. I mean, through Fred Levin and Damien. Most of us have had a Damien's at some point in our life, and to hear the loss of Damien is very sad, and certainly our prayers and thoughts are with Tony and Benita. I quite frankly, was with both of them on New Year's Eve, and I consider Benita and Tony dear friends of yours as well as dear friends of mine, and I know that they'll be having the ceremonies this weekend, and we certainly would know that we'd be there. I also want to thank Robbie Freeman, and Robbie's here, and many people don't know Harold Hodges, and there are some guys that worked in our facilities in our department who really gave their life. And this Saturday at Pleasant Hill Baptist Church at 11 o'clock, Harold Hodges will be laid to rest, a true Escambia County employee. Probably most people don't know Harold's name, but just did great work throughout our facilities department and did a great job. I certainly want to thank Pastor Fred Young, not only for doing the invocation, doing this MLK celebration, but reviving the parade. That's important. And so without your help and Commissioner Marie Young, that celebration would have probably died. And so I certainly want to thank you again, Pastor Young, for being here and the work that you're doing in District 3 at Mount Canaan. Also this past weekend, I attended the funeral at St. Joseph's Catholic Church for Mrs. Laura Etler, former school board member, certainly a fixture at the Boys and Girls Club in the Inglewood community. Dr. Etler was just a great social worker and just a great friend of this family and a great friend of District 3 in the Inglewood and the Shantytown community. And finally, to my friends, Doug Baldwin. Many of us know Doug Baldwin for playing for the Seattle Seahawks. We know his father for being a top law enforcement officer. And unfortunately, Keisha, who I've known since she was born, lost her life with one of our local rappers, TC Blanco, 2 days ago in a tragic car accident that was unfortunate and probably unnecessary. Our prayers and thoughts are with the Baldwin family as they go through this tragic time. So again, I wish I had better news tonight, but unfortunately it's pretty sad in the amount of deaths that we've had. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Manning. Sorry about that, Commissioner Strohberger.
Well, I got a little bit of good news. Let's see. I wanted to say happy birthday. He's a friend of everybody here on the dais and probably a lot of folks out there. Dave Hoxton's birthday is today. I don't see him. Are you out there, Dave? I just want to say happy birthday to him. I don't know how old Dave is. We just know he's old. The other thing is I wanted to share something that I got to do while I was on Christmas vacation. Gina allowed me to do this. So we were driving through Simi Valley. I'd planned it all along. I wanted to go there. I acted like it was a new thing, but I wanted to go to the Reagan Museum and Library, so I got to go there. I'd seen it on TV. I saw it one time a few years ago when our daughter got married. And we were in Simi Valley back when I was selling aircraft. And a friend of mine from the sheriff's department there, retired, took me flying. Gina was in the back seat. So we flew over the Reagan Museum. And I saw the aircraft's nose sticking out. And I wanted to go there. I've always wanted to go there. So we finally got to go there. And interesting enough, when we were in there, we were in front of Reagan shaking the hands of President Carter. They were shaking hands. We were in there the moment we got a notice on our phone that President Carter had passed away. So that was odd in an odd way, I guess. I don't know what way it was. I just thought it was weird that we were standing right there. It's a big poster, big photograph of the two of them. Anyway, if you get a chance to go down there, I got lots of bling. I love this kind of stuff. Gina let me buy as much as I wanted to, right, honey? And coins, and they got all kinds of great stuff and a lot of history there. I got his diary, his journal. He basically journaled everything that happened to him while he was in the White House, which I'm eager to read. So I would encourage everybody to go to the Reagan Library Museum, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Today is National Law Enforcement Day, so to those of you that protect and service, thank you. Thank you for keeping our community safe. Earlier this week, thank you. Earlier this week, I was able to attend the swearing in for Sheriff Chip Simmons, which was historic, the only sheriff in Escambia County who's ever ran unopposed. So thank you so much to that department that serves and protects us. Also, I want to do a shout out to Joy Blackman and everyone in the engineering and roads department. We are working on getting about 6 roads in District 4 resurfaced. So I know that the people who live along those roads will be extremely happy to hear that. We also received grants to cover the sidewalk on Olive Road. So thank you, Don Christian, for heading that up. And then last night, we were able to attend the delegation meeting. There was a few of us there, and I want to thank Michelle Salzman, Alex Andrade, and Don Gates for putting that on, being available to us, being engaged, hearing what we were asking for, and I know that they're going to take that back and really work to get those funds for our community, so I wanted to make sure that we thank them as well.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Hoffberger. I know we haven't met since Christmas and the holidays, New Year's, but you know, over the Christmas holidays, I got my own present. And it was a present that all the citizens of the county got too. So, you know, I was a little bored. And so like in the Navy, we used to have a Blue Jacket manual. Escambia County puts out the annual report. And it says all the beautiful things that we do for the county, for the citizens of Escambia County. And we're doing remarkable things. We really are. So I have this by my bedside to look at it sometimes when people don't think we're doing good stuff, but we really are, and you should read all the great and wonderful things the staff in the county are doing. I think it's a good job, Wes, and the staff needs to pat themselves on the back for that. So thanks for making my Christmas great. The second thing, I want to thank the governor. Yesterday, he gave us another $495,000 for the easement, which we've had this before, for acquisition for property around NAS Pensacola. We've had this. It helps with the NASP compatibility utilization study. We're getting a lot of love out there from the federal side, the state side, and the county. So those are all very positive things. And the Defense Network Coalition is doing just a wonderful job. Commissioner Hoffberger mentioned 2 things that I agree with. The sheriff's swearing-in ceremony on Monday was great, but it wasn't just, it was a special day for him. But if you listen to what he said, he thanked the county, I think 3 times. Thanked us for what we've done, funded him for cameras, working with the county administrator. I know his contract's up, maybe he's trying to rubber back West, but he did say a lot of nice things to us, and I thought that was meaningful. And then on Monday, I don't know, some of you may know, you probably all got invited. They're doing the groundbreaking for the Memorial Foundation over on Leonard Street. So that's on Monday afternoon. So that's a big deal for the deputies we've lost in the county. The delegation meeting last night, I agree with Commissioner Hoffberger. You stole a couple things I was going to say, but that was really good. And I know Mayor Hayward was there, and I thought it was very attentive, and there was a lot of great things that were asked for, and we'll see what we come back with. And Lumen, I'm surprised. I'm going to miss you this year for the MLK holiday and the parade and the prayer breakfast, but last 2 years, I've been to several of these things, and you know, it's a holiday for everybody. And as soon as you go to see some of this stuff and you see the unity and just the love. I love the prayer breakfast personally, and I won't be able to go there this year because I'm going to be out of town. But I'll be there.
You could cancel the inauguration and be here.
Well, I have other plans, but I'll keep you in mind, Commissioner May. But anyways, that'll be a big day for us next weekend. Are you still doing your celebration?
Yeah, living the dream. Yeah, we're still doing it. So it's a great weekend, and that's why I was so complimentary of Pastor Young, because we knew that the parade was almost canceled until he took it up, him and Commissioner Young. And so the celebration is still going to go forward because of the work that Pastor Young and Pastor Wesley are doing.
Who's the guest speaker for the breakfast, do you know?
Pastor Marcel Davis of Adoration Baptist Church.
Oh, I know that guy. The biker, right?
He lives in your district.
I know. I didn't know he's a speaker. Okay, that's good. All right, well, that's all I have. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
can I just, and I had a note to say this. I just want to compliment Wes Marino. I've shown up at the mayor's State of the City and the sheriff, State of Law Enforcement, and Wes, you did it without any hoopla and presented what I believe is great work that we're doing, and you didn't do it at a podium. You did it quietly and presented it to the citizens, so I want to personally thank you, Wes, for getting that information out and not trying to make a big hoopla about it, but just literally presenting it, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner May. We have a great staff, and I appreciate every one of them.
Yep, to you and the staff, so thank you. With that, I'll move the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there a second?
I make a second.
Please vote.
Oh, how we vote.
The agenda passes 5-0. I was looking at something else here. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to proclamations. Do I have a motion to adopt and ratify the proclamations?
I make
So
a
moved.
motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay. All right. Would the firefighters, the volunteer firefighters from Warrington Fire Department come up and fire, I don't see, oh, come on up, Fire Chief Harris. So before I read the proclamation, which will have some of the stuff, I think the citizens in the county should know these gentlemen have been volunteering at the Warrington Fire Department for, how long, 50 years? Yeah, 50 years. And they still met, and as you can see, they're not as young as they were in their other days, but the county's taken over that fire department, and we appreciate that. We have a paid fire department out there now. But their years of service helped the people in Warrington and around that area, saved a lot of lives, saved a lot of fires. And we're going to recognize them through a proclamation, but we're also going to honor them by putting a plaque outside of that fire department to recognize their service. And I thank you, gentlemen, and I'll read this proclamation, and if any of you want to speak. Okay. Whereas Escambia County recognizes the dedicated and unwavering service of the Warrington Volunteer Fire Department that contributes of its members to the rich history of the local community. And whereas Warrington is named after Captain Lewis Warrington, who served as Secretary of the Navy from 1844 to 1846 and is one of 3 men Naval Committee who visited Pensacola in 1826 in search of the site for the Navy Yard, which became the current Naval Air Station. And whereas in 1914, the Navy Yard converted the nation's first naval air station, with the citizens of Warrington becoming its first employees, and several of them contributing to the growth of the new Warrington community, which continued to bloom through the 1940s. And whereas by the time of World War II ended, Warrington was no longer a village, but a town with new sites for homes and businesses, and newly established Chamber of Commerce and civics clubs, and sponsored the incorporation of the Warrington Voluntary Fire Department in 1947. And whereas the original station was located on 14 South 2nd Street, and with a substation located at the western edge of Warrington, first due on Rents Avenue in the Beach Haven community. Emergency calls were dispatched from Warrington Cab Stand located on South Navy Boulevard until the county assumed the responsibilities in the 1970s with the 911 system. Whereas both fire stations were consolidated to the present-day location at 20 North Navy Boulevard in 1991. And in 2008, the Warrington Volunteer Fire Department merged into Escambia County Fire Rescue with career staffing starting on June 20th, 2013. Whereas the Warrington Volunteer Fire Department has enjoyed the continuing and enthusiastic support from the entire community and the recognition of the steadfast leadership of its past fire chief, Jack Weston, Cliff Sprinkle, Jeff Muldour, Eddie Henderson, Charlie Virgin, Randy Burleson, John Dosh, Scott Meeks, Mike Miller, Jim Rushing, and Mike Aaron. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners, on behalf of the citizens of Escambia County, Florida, express gratitude for the committed and diligence of the Warrington Volunteer Fire Department to the public safety of the community. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commission acknowledges and shows appreciation to the past and current board members of the Warrington Volunteer Fire Department and for the donation of the fire station building located at 20 North Navy Boulevard for the continuation of fire rescue duties. Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, Michael Kohler, Chair, District 2, Ashley Hoffberger, Vice Chair, District 4, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen May, District 3, Steve Berry, District 5. Thank you, gentlemen, for your long service. Couldn't be more grateful for it. Do any of you want to say a few words? Chief Harris? Come on. Hey, when we came out to Dilacator, you were giving me a hard time, partner.
I just want to say,
Speak into the mic.
just want to say thank the board for this presentation, and we appreciate it, and it was hard at times, but we carried it through, and thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks again. Hey, we're going to get a photo. Chief Harris, actually, you were instrumental with this with me. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Thank you very much. All right, come on.
Hey, Mike,
Yes, sir.
the speaker lives in District 3.
But he works in District 2. And when we get the plaque, we'll have you guys come out and take some poses as well. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all. That's a part of the job that makes it so rewarding, honestly. Okay, that's it for proclamation. Okay, so let's move on to the clerk's office. Receive the proof of publications for the public hearing on the agenda and the board's weekly meeting schedule.
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's move on to public hearing, item 531.
Move to waive the reading of the notice.
Okay, you got a motion and a second. Please vote. I have to do it for Okay, public hearing 5.32. Adoption of Madeline subdivision street lighting municipal service benefits union ordinance. Stephen Hall, Director of Finance, put this in. We have 4 items. Do we have a motion?
So we move in the
Wait.
move to the 531 public hearing.
So, Mr. Chairman, the motion and the second was to waive the reading of the legal notices, so we need to do the
We need a motion for the
531.
531. I'll move 531,
That
Mr.
was-
Chairman.
That was my motion.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll move 531.
We still have to read it though, right? For the record, Allison, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I second
Yeah, that's what I
531.
thought. So, okay, so 531, public hearing of adoption, Ledgestone subdivision street lighting municipality service benefit union ordinance was presented by Stephen Hall. There are 4 items and no speakers.
I moved it.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion second, please vote. All right, now we'll move to 532. Sorry about that, y'all. Public hearing to adopt the Madeline.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Let the clerk's office
yeah.
see the vote, because we use the machine.
Yeah, it's the machine's slower than we are.
Right.
Gentlemen, I'm missing votes for Commissioner May and Commissioner Stroberger. Sorry.
We may do a hand vote here in a minute if we can't get it.
You have mine now?
We recently, last meeting, started going back to electronic voting. It's
It
just
ain't worked in
slow.
12 years, so it's good.
I'm just going to send it back out to everyone.
Okay, please vote. That's what we're on. Okay, it passes 5-0. Let's move on to 532, public hearing to adopt the Madeline Woods subdivision street lighting municipal service benefits union ordinance. Do I have a motion to move this?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, please vote. Speakers? Okay. All right, we're going to move to 534.
Hold on.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know why it was 533, but 534, public hearing to adopt the Bellevue Point subdivision street lighting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, she doesn't have the results from the 532
Oh.
yet.
Can we do if this is going to be the social, we just do a hand vote? Okay, let's do a hand vote. Okay, motion passes 5-0. We'll try, but if we can't get this up, it's too time consuming. Okay, 534, public hearing to adopt the Bellevue Point subdivision street lighting municipal street benefit unit ordinance. Do we have a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, let's move on to the clerk and comptroller's report.
Short report, the October investment report, the public officials bond for Chip Simmons, sheriff, and also minutes and reports for your approval. Thank you.
Okay. We do have a speaker on item number 2, Adam Bluer. Please come up. Andrew Bluer, I'm sorry.
Well, my knowledge on this thing doesn't seem to be very good, but I'm sure that since y'all didn't discuss it this morning, I would love for y'all to discuss it tonight. It says a bond of $25,000 for Sheriff Simmons. So what, can you please explain that, or can he explain why he has to have a bond of $25,000? And I mean, how come the county won't bond him? Why does he have to get the Western Shirley Company to bond him?
Public official bonds are required by state law. It's set by the Board of County Commissioners. I have a bond. Every constitutional officer has a bond. Every elected has a bond. It's something that's required. It does look very low, but it's set with purpose, and this is the requirement.
Well, I mean, that's the question I've got is if it's really requires a bond, a $25,000 bond seems to be very small. I mean, seem like they would have an insurance policy that would cover more than that.
There is other insurance with the county. There's layered insurance, but this is an official bond, a little bit different in what it does. And this is the only required coverage for a bond, but there is insurance. The county is also self-insured and does have additional policies. So this is all
So what's the
that's
cost of
required.
this bond?
Oh, it's minimal. If it's $400, I'd be surprised.
It's $400.
$400. This is not an expensive bond, but it's required. Yes, sir. You can call me. I'll
Thank you,
explain.
Madam Clerk, for the comments. Do we have a motion to move the clerk's report?
Second.
All right, please vote. I think we'll just raise our hand tonight. All right, let's move on to the growth management report. Thank you, Horace.
Yes, sir. For tonight, we have rezoning case Z 2024-21 from MDR PK to COM PK. The planning board made a recommendation for approval.
Horace, we have one speaker on that item. It's Ms. Meredith Bush.
I think she's coming.
Meredith Bush, 125 East Intendencia. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Happy to take any questions. We would just ask that you approve the rezoning.
I don't see any comments or questions. All right. Do we have a motion to move?
Yeah, I move to approve the planning board's recommendation to rezone the subject property from medium to commercial.
All right, please vote. All right, motion passes 5-0.
The next item is the approval for the official zoning map.
There's no speakers.
Move to 545.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Proceed, Horace, we're at 546.
546 is to review and adopt a small-scale map amendment 2024-04 to review and adopt.
Okay, no speakers.
Move to 546.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 547, Horace.
547, this is to review and transmit the DSAP Amendment OSP 2024-03 to review and transmit.
Okay, no speakers.
Mr. Chairman, I move to 547.
Okay. All right, please vote. Okay, motion passes 5-0. We're at 548, Horace.
548, again, this is to review and transmit Chapter 11 Coastal Management element of the Escambia County Comprehensive Plan to review and transmit.
Horace, we have one speaker, Mr. Andrew Bluer.
And this is just
the
the first of two public hearings,
Yes,
correct,
sir.
Horace? So it'll come back, correct?
Come back, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't want y'all rubber stamping this. This is the first of 2 public hearings, whatever, and I have no knowledge of what this is doing. Coastal management element, I'm very concerned about coastal or whatever. Y'all sometimes give up our coastal waters, and I want to make sure that y'all not doing this. I have no review of this Chapter 11. Do y'all have that available on the internet that I can see that, or Escambia County has that available? You'll give me a copy of it. Thank you.
Okay, no further speakers on
So
540.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so please vote. 548, excuse me, passes 5-0. We have one, Andrew, on 549.
549 again, this is to adopt an ordinance amending the DSAP assignment to to adopt.
And we have one speaker, it's Mrs. Bush.
Meredith Bush, 125 East Intendencia. Again, attorney for the applicant. It's an opt-out from the sector plan. We would just ask that you approve and adopt the ordinance opting us out of the sector plan.
Steve, are you good with this?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I move the 549.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, Horse Run GMR 2.
Yes, so we have our final plat action items. Recommendation approval concerning the final plat for Grove at Bellaterra. Final plat approval.
And we have no speakers, board? Okay, second.
Second.
Please vote. GMR action item 1 passes 5-0.
The next item is recommendation concerning a final plat for Blue Angel Station.
There's no speakers. I know this is in my district, but I support it.
If you support it, I'll move it. You support
Okay,
it?
thank you. Is there a
I move the item.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Passes 5-0. On GMR number 23.
The next item is the consent agenda for January 26, January 22, and also February the 6th, in which the February 6th agenda will be moving to to be moved to, I'm sorry, number 3, I do apologize. I'm moving too quickly.
We'll slow down.
Slow down, yes, sir. Thank you, Drew. Recommendation concerning the adoption of the Escambia County ILA agreement, the interlocal agreement. Thank you.
And there's no speakers, board?
Move the item. Move to approve the item.
Second.
Please vote. Item 2-3 passes 5-0. GMR 3 consent agenda.
GMR, January 26th, January 22, with a modification to the February 6th rezoning case to be moved to March the 6th, 2025. February the 6th modification.
Okay, y'all, there's no speakers on that either.
I move the consent agenda with the amendment to the February 6th meeting being moved to March.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Item passes 5-0. All right, Wes, I'm going to move up OLF 8 at this point. So, board, last meeting, obviously, we had OLF 8 later. I'd like to move that up, and then we'll continue after we have that discussion with the rest of the county administration report. How I'd like to run this. How many speakers do we have tonight, Jose, for the OLF 8? We have 30.
So an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Is that an hour and a half? I think I'm going to do 2 minutes, just because we have so many speakers. And then for each one of the developers, we'll limit it to 10 minutes tonight. Is the board okay with that recommendation? Okay, who's our first speaker?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
based on what I'm looking at, I think we can get through consent 1 and 2 fairly quickly, in a matter of minutes, actually.
Mr. Chairman, I would support that because there are some people who are not here for outline feel late that if it's consent, that they could go.
Okay, let's go, Wes.
All right, there are 8 items on the technical public service consent agenda. There are no changes. Poll card 1-6 for speaker.
I move the balance of the car-1.
Second.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Only one. Please vote. All right, passes 5-0. So let's go ahead.
Larry Cannon? Larry Cannon, speak on car 1-6. All right. There are 27 items on the budget finance consent agenda.
So do we need to move 6 then?
Yeah, we have to vote on 6.
Yes.
I need a motion.
So I move item car-1 6.
Second.
Please vote. Okay, item passes 5-0.
27 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Drop card 2-4, recommendation concerning the FDP agreement for the Carpenter Creek Hydrologic Restoration and Stormwater Improvement Project. The FDP is requested to make some additional amendments to the agreement.
I'll move the balance with a question. Wes, there's no problem with that, correct?
No, DEP is just requested to make a few more amendments to that agreement, and we'll bring it back probably the next meeting.
So next meeting we'll get it, because Carpenter Creek is pretty important in my district, so it'll be brought back. So I'll move the item with the expectation that this will be brought back at the next meeting.
A second.
Just for comment on that, Commissioner May, that was actually a good discussion point last night at the delegation meeting. The estuary is also looking for the acquisition of the property. We got, I think you know this, but we have $6 million in restore for that. So it looks like that's moving forward. So it should be a positive.
No, thank you for your leadership last night. I left early, but thank you for your leadership. I mean,
offense, okay.
Long meetings don't go well with me.
So do we have a motion on 1-6?
The motion stands.
For the remainder of the agenda, for CR2?
Yeah, we didn't have any speakers on
Well, 6 has been dropped, so all the other items I'm moving in the affirmative.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay. Now I think we can get to OFA.
Absolutely.
I know that took a few extra minutes, but we didn't have any real other speakers in on OFA.
So after outline fill 8, all we have is discussion in the legal, right?
County report, yeah.
County attorney, thank you.
Yeah, county attorney. All right, let's start with our first OF8 speaker, Cecilia Campbell, 2 minutes.
See how thankful the staff is now they get to leave because you did all that.
Yeah. You're going to get out before midnight.
Cecilia Campbell, resident of Beulah. First of all, I'd like to say, comment on our last meeting. I'm sure that everyone who was here really they were eager to move forward and make a decision on OLF8 at our last meeting, but perhaps if we had taken the advice of Jacqueline Rogers, then we would have had a clearer mind going forward. I wanted to clear up a little confusion at the last meeting when I know that Ms. Hoffberger said, oh, look at your folks, they're all upset. Well, the only thing that we were really upset about, it was not making a decision on one of the developers. It was the thought that one person could step up here and throw something out about Triumph money and that everyone would be in a tailspin. And we were not freaking out about making a decision on one person. We were freaking out because we felt like y'all had we had been led to believe by Commissioner Culler and the whole board back, way back in December or before that we were going to eliminate the idea of selling the whole or deeding the whole, everything. We were so upset because we thought you were about to deed everything to PEDC in Florida West. That was, I will walk away from here tonight fully satisfied that the years and years that we have put into these meetings would be fine as long as one developer following the DPC design to their very best ability. If one developer is chosen, it doesn't have to be tonight, but that is all we care about. We just want y'all to do what you promised as men and women of integrity and following through on what you told your people you were going to do a long, long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. John Kellis and Richie Fonse's on deck.
My name is John Kellis. I live in Nature Trail. I've been doing this for so many years now. There are more new faces that I'm facing than you are, because we've been the same people coming back and back over turnover that you've had, and we still have not had a decision or a course to go. We have heard, I guess you can't hear anything new from us. My vocabulary's been reduced to RFP, infrastructure, traffic. It's just the same things that we talk about. when I think my 80 years, most of it has been here. It feels like it. When I was a younger man sitting in a cockpit on an aircraft carrier, and kaboom, you got let off and shot off in the middle of the night and pouring down rain. It was an important job. You had decisions to make, and you couldn't dilly-dally. You had to make a doggone decision, and you didn't have a lot of options. It's the same thing here. It's about time that we make a decision, and I would like to be a shorter, older, balder version of Mr. Kohler right now and say, all right, guys, this is it. I've looked things over, and I recommend that we start negotiating with the Hemmer Group. Everybody vote on it. At least do something. Thank you.
John, thank you. I think we're going to get to something tonight. We'll see. Richie, you're up.
Richie Fonts, a Escambia County taxpayer. I like what everybody says, return of investment. We need to get back at least what we spent for taxpayers' money on this project, as well as all the money we've lost. We're 0 for 4, 0 for 5, right? Let's get the most we can. I know you guys say jobs. Give it to a developer. Let them deal with light industrial and PDC and Florida West, because how well did that promise go out at ST? We're going to have high-paying local jobs. What did our taxpayers pay for? Low-paying foreign jobs. You can't get a guarantee you're going to get that. They tell you will, but they won't. So go for the return on investment, the highest pay, and let them deal with it. If you need anything else to level the playing field, bring in a third party that specializes in contract negotiations. Select the developer, bring in that help, look at the contract. If you don't like it, you can always go to another developer. But settle it with one developer, bring in somebody else so they can't say you guys are biased, you're picking, bring in a third party, okay? And then make the decision out here in the light. You know, the Bible says men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. Do it out here. I don't know if anybody's gotten a text message telling them how to vote, but it's time for us to see you vote, and your vote's going to tell us. You say you always follow the lead of the commissioner in that district. Your vote tonight will show us whether you follow the lead or not. Let's see how honest you guys are with your words. All right?
Thank you very much. Sharon Galbert is next. And,
Good evening, Sharon Gobert. I'm a District 5 resident since 2000 and been involved with Pensacola Ice Sports for 12 years now. As several of you have heard me say before, all of our amateur and skating and hockey programs have been at capacity. We operate with wait lists, and we've been begging for ice for years. The lack of and reducing amounts of ice at the Bay Center continue to force us to take money to other communities and discontinue programs such as our Special Olympics and adaptive skating. We feel that the OLF 8 property offers a great opportunity for a community sports facility with ice. And not only would this benefit our local residents, but it would serve to bring in people from all over the Southeast and nationwide. Right now, our closest rinks are Birmingham, Columbus, Georgia, and Jacksonville, and that's what we consider home. And just for a point of information, we have 6 days of ice, and days doesn't mean full days. It means 2.5 hours for 6 days this month. March gives us 2 hours of ice. It's really hard to promote a program in that situation. If with the right developer at OLF 8, we could see ice sports become a reality in other community sports, such as maybe even a swimming pool, and allow us to grow these programs. We're hopeful that you'll make a decision this evening and that you'll select a developer that will hold true to the DPZ master plan and allow us to move forward, and we look forward to conversations with whoever that developer might be. We have spoken with Mr. Hammer. He is very familiar with ice sports, realizes what this could bring to the community, so if he's chosen, we hope we can take that next step forward in talking with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Teresa Blackwell? Oh, yeah, you are there.
Before I get started, Z3 Commerce allows recreational facilities like that. So, good evening, Teresa Blackwell. And, first I just want to commend you, Commissioner Kohler, for bringing some urgency to this. And also, rest in peace, Jimmy Carter, before I get going. Okay, so we have a great master plan for OLF 8, and we need to focus on what matters now. Selling the whole site to one of the 3 developers will put us on the right path. The county put out an RFQ in 2022, which I sent emails about to you, and the master plan is an integral part of it. It was canceled a few months later for lack of response, and it's posted at the group I moderate, Beulah OLF 8 Strong, on Facebook. So that RFQ included a weighted set of criteria for judging those who apply. Commissioner Barry. So anyway, residential, retail, development experience was one of the criteria. Light industrial, commercial development experience, another. Use of local businesses and workers, another. Key personnel, financial capability. So there are several points that come up frequently. One of those is live local. That can be handled 2 ways. One, which the county attorney mentioned, and then also the county's required to do an ordinance on live local, and you can just put in there that master plans are exempt. That's what other counties are doing for PUDs. Do not be held hostage by Triumph funds. Do not give any control or deed to the PEDC. Commissioner May, wherever you are, do not, every dollar of the profit from the sale must go back to the districts for infrastructure. And let's see, what else do I have time for? DPZ
Teresa, can you wrap up your thoughts? I know.
Almost finished, skipped a lot. DPZ co-design is at the top of their field. Their plan has the answers to many of our questions and fears. The plan was thoughtfully created and is our guiding light going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Keith Bowe, you're next, and Will, actually, I'll come back to Will. Keith, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioner Stroberger, for attending multiple meetings and being invested as you are with the group. I think what I've noticed was last month, what it's going to come down to is the people are wanting to have assurances and a timeline, and that's where it got hung up at the end of the meeting last month. But it got missed or omitted somehow. But Fred Hemmer came up here with his initial plan. He had a timeline. He had a fail-safe. He said, we're going to get this done in this period of time, and we're going to get this done in this period of time. He had it all out there. But by the end of the meeting at midnight, everybody had forgotten that we do have a timeline, and that's what we're looking at right now. Can we have an assured timeline? I think I have just enough time to finish. This is from the DPZ. The OLF 8 master plan provides the balance for the highest and best economic use of the property with use that enhance the quality of life for those who live or work in Beulah, while maximizing the creation of jobs with wages higher than the county median. That's the objective. And with Commissioner Stroberger, I believe should take the lead when we decide what the motion is going to be. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure he has everyone's confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Regina Smith, you're up next. And Colleen Carbone's on deck. I didn't know you spelled your name like that, Regina.
Hi. I'm Regina Smith from Warrington. I'm trying to find out how much green space is going to be allowed in this development, because I'm watching all of the development go down Highway 90, and it looks like a lot of strip malls and it looks like just wherever the money lands, that things are happening. And right now, I'm concerned because technology's moving on, but people are being left behind, and they just have to follow the road as it goes. And children are losing their identity. They're going to drugs or suicide. So we need to have opportunities, green spaces, better gardens and things to replace some of the farmland that's missing, and placing fruit trees and into our landscape, and a lot of opportunities that we just don't see anywhere. And I'm just trying to find out how well you can really plan instead of just managing at your own wills. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Colleen Carlin, is she here? Thank you, Colleen. Zachary Campbell's on deck.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Carbone. I'm a resident of Escambia County, Perdido Key. I'm a native Floridian, which is not very common. I've spoke to the board before about our need for ice sports in Escambia County. And the reason why I mentioned that I'm a native Floridian is because my daughter skates. She's been skating for 4 years. She's actually been able to do one competition with our limited ice that we have here. But as a native Floridian from South Florida, there is more ice in South Florida than there is in Escambia County. I spend a lot of money in South Florida on ice. There are 3 big, brand new, 2 of them brand new, ice plexes in the Coral Springs, Boca Raton, and Fort Lauderdale area. The one that Fort Lauderdale just came up about 4 months ago. And the reason why I mention this with OLF is because when a decision is made to do something with that property, we, as Greater Pensacola Figure Skating Club, and the parents that are involved in it, would like for you to use, to pick somebody, a developer, that will put an ice sports facility in that place. It's tourism dollars. It is going to bring people from all over this Southeast District. I emailed my county commissioner today and put a graphic up that shows all the ice sports facilities away from here. It will cause tourism, it will bring in money, and you want to be a part of that. You want to have that money in this district. You don't want to pay for the ice sports with tax dollars. You want a private entity to pay for that ice sports facility and then reap the benefits. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Zachary Campbell. And John Moore's on deck.
Zachary Campbell, I live on Frank Rita Road. Graduate of Tate High School in 1971. We took civics in high school when I was there. Played baseball there too. And one of the things that I remember is what Abraham Lincoln said, government by the people, of the people, for the people. The good thing that happened was a survey was put out for us, those folks who live in Beulah, about what we would like to see. And we filled all that out. We went through the process. And there's walking amenities, there's stuff for the community, and there's stuff for the county there as well. And it was a win-win the way we saw it. And what we reaped from that was the DPZ plan. That is government of the people. We've also discovered that elections have consequences. And there's been, I think you would agree, there's been an awakening in America from the voters. They picked up on a disconnect between their representatives and themselves. And so what I think this is going to help bring about is more transparency between your constituents and us. By way of disclosure, Frank Reeder was my grandfather, and I own land that borders OLF 8. So here we are once again, the same. I can't say anything new about you, but the one thing I remember when I first started voting in 1971 was there was a tug-of-war between the downtown crowd and the folks who don't live downtown. Well, here we are again. And what we want to see is government for the people who filled out the survey with the DPZ plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. John Moore? And Daniel Settergren is next. I think I'm getting that right.
Good evening, John Moore. It appears there's an opportunity for progress tonight on OLF 8. The community has advocated for and seen through to the completion of master plan by world-renowned planners and DPZ co-design. Certain local business leaders, financial industry executives, and bureaucrats have recently begun assembling alliances to lobby this board to deed over nearly half of taxpayer-owned OLF 8 to PEDC. The crusade to acquire the people's property has come to a head since September. Over the months, we have heard a rising crescendo of reasons presented explaining why it is imperative that this transaction should occur. There have been protestations before this board, news articles, blog posts, live interviews, and social media entries seemingly on a weekly basis promoting the arrangement, while some condemning or belittling Escambia residents who have the gall to speak up in disapproval. Citizens who advocate for the OLF 8 master plan have been maligned by media personalities and mocked by some of the most powerful people in this area and the organizations they represent in an attempt to delegitimize efforts to have the OLF 8 master plan respected. It is a sad day when oligarchs use their influence and power to denigrate and subjugate the people who live in their shadows. The people are in opposition to this campaign for varying reasons, but our most stringent argument is that it would effectively dilute our voting power. It will remove our voices regarding events and activities that will shape the character of our community for decades to come. Beulah's most sincere desire was and is a thriving and vibrant town center and to maintain a relative semblance of the agrarian character and charm that for so many generations has been the hallmark of our area. Thankfully, representative form of government prevailed in August. We are comforted that we now have a commissioner who will hear and is acting upon our voices. However this process moves forward tonight, we are asking that you make every effort to ensure the OLF 8 master plan is protected, honored, and enshrined in any and all future transactions involving OLF 8. Please show customary deference and respect to the commissioner whose district is directly impacted by these decisions. Allow him to present his thoughts and arguments for what he feels is best for the Escambia County and his district before making any other motions on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Daniel Settergren, if I'm saying that, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Okay, thanks. And Rob Aarons is up next.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. Dan Settergren. I am the chairman of the Emerald Coast Ice Hockey Association, which is the adult recreational league here in Pensacola, operating out of the Pensacola Bay Center. We currently have a registration that's limited to 120 players. I could easily double that, but we don't have the ice time to support it right now. A full-time ice sports complex is needed in this area. You would not believe how popular it could be, not only for the local citizens, and local I mean from as far away as Biloxi to Panama City. We have people coming to play in our league. So it is a very popular sport. Not only that, public skate sessions are extremely big. You may not think of it here in Florida with all these great beaches and fishing and all the wonderful activities you have for tourists and for the local residents. My military career, I was fortunate enough to be stationed in Hawaii for 4 years. You would not believe how busy the ice rink in Hawaii was. If you don't think that that's a place that could compete with this as far as outdoor activities, beaches, that type of thing, everybody loved to get out of the heat, go to the ice rink, or have their birthday party there. It also talks about bringing in competitions from out of the area. We can bring in players from Tennessee, from Kentucky, from Alabama, you name it, Louisiana, to come down here for tournaments. That's bringing in tourism dollars. That's bringing in money to the economy here. Bottom line is we look forward to working with any builder that wants to build an ice sports complex here in Escambia County. We think it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob, I just realized you're with Beulah Center, so I'm going to move on. I'm kind of compiling those, you guys, the developers teams together. Jennifer Burkhart, are you out there? Oh, thank you, Jennifer.
I am the secretary of the North Florida Youth Hockey League. I am also the team manager for 2 of our house leagues. I'm a hockey parent and I'm a figure skating parent as well as a county resident. I'm here for a very simple reason. I just want you to consider a sports complex that includes ice. We have 230 registered kids right now. I know that doesn't sound significant to you, but we can't grow because we have nowhere to go. My 40 kids that I represent will share 1 sheet of ice for 1.5 hours between February 17th and March 12th. That's it. We travel to Dallas, Nashville, Huntsville, Savannah, Jacksonville, Columbus, and we take all of our revenue, all of our money over there with us. Very simply, I just want to be here to represent those 230 little voices that can't come here today and ask you to consider them.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Carlos Villa, is Carlos here? And then Wesley Carter's on deck.
Okay, thank you guys so much for meeting with me. Yeah, so I'm new to the area. I am a person who moved from up north. I originally grew up in Connecticut. I went to college in Vermont, and I moved down here. My parents moved down here in 2021. We are one of many people who are moving down here from up north, and a lot of those people who are moving from up north are hockey families. So speaking with the ice sports people, I do want to point out, so the closest rink from Pensacola is 245 miles away, other than the Bay Center. Bay Center ice is very limited. I'm the head coach of the 8U hockey team here in Pensacola. We got a big tournament coming up next weekend. We're very excited. I do want to point out, I know everybody cares, well, what money is it going to bring in? Who likes hockey down here? I want to point out that in Southern Florida, there's an entire youth hockey league that is running from Orlando, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. There's a league down there that is running successfully. Tons of kids are playing hockey in the state of Florida. USA Hockey actually stated that Florida had the biggest increase of hockey players in any state in the country, particularly, I'd think, due to the success of the 2 pro teams that we have here in the state of Florida between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. I want to point out that this location in particular is very beneficial due to the fact that it's very close to I-10. It's right off the highway, which will attract people from around the surrounding areas like Alabama, Biloxi out there, as well as people from Panama City, Destin, the Panhandle. There are no rinks in the Panhandle of Florida. This would be the only rink of the Panhandle of Florida, hence why you would get so many people coming in from surrounding areas, as well as the benefits from tourism with the hotels that are around that area. They would benefit from hosting tournaments. I think it's very important just to know that hockey's here to stay. It's growing. It's a massively growing game in the United States of America, and I think it's very important that we take that into consideration in building a facility for these kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Is Wesley Carter out there? David Bear, you're up next.
Hope you're all doing well. I'm Wes Carter. I'm a resident in Cantonment. I'm a native of Pensacola. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm a proud coach of the Pensacola Junior Ice Flyers. I actually coached with Carlos, who was just up here. I represent the other side of the spectrum. We are, in fact, a rooted hockey community here. There's not a lot of hockey coaches you're going to find around here that talk and sound like me. I was born here, and I coach here. I grew up playing here, and now I've got the opportunity to coach my son. And there are more who are like me. We are a hockey community, whether a lot of people realize that or not. And the one thing that we have struggled with since 1996 is ice time. I think that there's a real opportunity here at the OLF 8 for tourism dollars to be brought in through an ice sports facility. As Carlos said, the nearest ice rink that has ice year-round is around 240 miles away from here. We are not just a randomly located hockey community on the map. We are a hockey community with the most beautiful beaches in the entire world. I do think that there's a real opportunity to draw players here, not just in hockey, but figure skating, and the general public from all over the country to our location. So just, if you would, consider, when thinking about a developer, the importance and the potential of an ice facility at OLF 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. David Bear? Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Special thanks to Commissioner Strohberger for taking a tour of my warehouse yesterday and seeing how light industrial development can coexist within a residential neighborhood. I'm not here tonight to try to persuade you to make a decision one way or another. I'm here speaking tonight to talk and give you facts to help you make your decision regarding this project. You require facts, and here are some that I think are important to you. The county does not have a Triumph grant. Its application has moved through the process, but there is not an approved term sheet, and there is no grant award agreement. Triumph Gulf Coast is an available resource to help local governments with public infrastructure projects for construction, expansion, maintenance, which are shown to enhance economic recovery, diversification, enhancement, disproportionately affected counties. The information can be found in Florida Statute 288.8017. The Florida legislature created the Live Local Act to address the state's growing affordable housing crisis by incentivizing the development of workforce housing near employment centers. The law aims to encourage private investment in affordable housing through tax breaks, streamlined permitting, and land use reforms to make housing more accessible for residents with limited interference by local municipalities and governments. This information can be found Florida Statute 166.04151. The time to consider these two issues is prior to selling the land, not after. You cannot usurp Florida law that preempts the county. The DPZ master plan calls for, among other things, light industrial, heavy commercial development. These types of development do not include smokestacks and the like. We have these all over the county and in neighborhoods without disruptions or complaints.
David, can you finalize?
Sure. Anyway, no one here in support of job creation has requested to abandon or amend the DPZ master plan. What we ask is just consider the facts when you make your decision tonight. Do not base it on emotion or misinformation.
Thank you for your
Mr. Chairman,
comments.
David, so the numbers that we got, I don't know if we got them from Florida West or what, the $15, $16 million for Triumph, that's never been approved, talked about, or preliminarily in place. Is that not?
The Triumph request? There was a request, there was an application for $14.2 million. There was a pre-application. It was moved forward to an application. The application was scored and approved by the Triumph board. And then the Triumph staff, it moves to the next stage, which is term sheet negotiations. A term sheet has been developed. It is on the Triumph website, but it has not been discussed at a Triumph board meeting because at that point, you guys were in negotiation with private developers, and because Triumph funds cannot be used for private infrastructure, only public infrastructure, the Triumph staff just put it on hold, waiting for the county to make a decision on what it wanted to do, whether or not it would be still eligible for those funds.
So for clarification for me, it has not moved to the full board?
It did go through the board at the application stage. There's 2 more steps before it's actually approved for funding.
So in that pre-application, was it based on acreage and jobs? I mean, was there a number of jobs and a amount of acreage that was a part of the application?
Yes, I can't recall the number of acres, but it was 338 jobs that were tied to the $14.2 million.
But you don't remember the specific amount of acreage that was tied to it?
I don't recall.
But it is a certain number of acreage, I would assume.
It is.
Because it's 300
For
plus
the
jobs.
project, it was a $56 million project. The utilities alone were, the Triumph funds were going to pay for the road and the utilities to get in from 9 Mile Road to Frank Reeder Road. And the county's use of the value, $1.8 million of the value of the land, was going to be part of the match, and then $40 million worth of capital expenditures in the development for the creation of those 338 jobs were the match to get up to a $56 million project.
So it would all be contingent that we can create 300-plus jobs, whether or not we get the money. So and I'm just like, you and I have not talked, but I mean, if we were going to get those TRAMP funds, it would be contingent if we're going to look at $14 million, at least 300-plus jobs, correct? Is that
correct? For those $14.2 million, it was 338 jobs at a certain pay rate, which is a minimum of 115% of the area average wage.
I hope it's more than 60,000, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Just
Thank
need to
you,
get that point of
David. And
clarification for me.
I see some people raising cane. PEDC, we pay the county $600,000. I appreciate your comments. So the clarification, I think, was
Thank
useful for me. We pay PEDC quite a bit of money to, Florida West to, get jobs for us. So I appreciate the follow-up on that.
And I mean, do we pay Florida West or we pay PEDC directly? I think we pay Florida West.
It's 600,000.
600,000 for job creation. I mean, I don't know what the actual number, Stephen knows, I mean, but.
That's what I was told, so.
I don't know, Stephen, what is the number? I don't know.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have an interlocal agreement with the City of Pensacola, but ultimately we fund the PEDC, and it is $600,000 a year county.
So we fund PEDC and they fund Florida West. So our money
How
goes
much
directly
does the
to
city put
PEDC.
in?
$150,000.
So it's at 750, okay, thanks.
All right. So we don't fund Florida West, we fund
Yeah.
PEDC. Okay.
Correct.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Andrew Blower, are you still here? Oh, you're back. Okay, come on up.
You county commissioners wiped me out. This morning you said that you were going to have the OLF8 before you did the county administrator's report. Did you not say that this morning? Did y'all not say that this afternoon, that y'all were going to do the OLF8 before you did the county administrator's report? But guess, Commissioner Kohler, and I don't even know what I want to call Marino, but he says, oh, let's push it through. And
Andrew,
did
the chair
other
has
four
the
county
authority
commissioners
to
agree
do
on that?
The chair has the authority to move the agenda in the interest of time.
Who did that?
I did it.
But this morning, you
I
got
did-
the backing of the other four
I
county
did say
commissioners.
that,
So
but-
tonight, you just did it on your own?
Well, because there was no speakers, there was one speaker.
I was going to speak on several items in the county attorney's report, but I thought I had 2.5 hours to write them up and take them out there.
Well, thank you. I think we know you're. Yeah, we still do. We haven't done that yet.
No, I'm talking the county administrator's report. Yeah. Well, I got another one out there after the county administrator's report. I mean, the county attorney's report. I guess I need to talk to her too. All right, I'll start my time now.
You got 44 seconds.
Well, you did me dirty, and West Marino did even worse. So I'm going to spend it on this here.
You're
I
going
want
to do
the
35
sandbags
seconds.
put back in
That's
those
what you're
breach
gonna
berms. I want the county commissioners to respond to me when I call their secretaries. They won't do that. They won't call me back. How come, Stroberger, you won't call me back? You want to be a one term? You want to be one term, right? I can do that. I can try.
I have never got a call from you, not one time.
You never in the office, but I guarantee your office has received it. You got an email.
Mr. Brewer, thank you for your comments. Your time's up on this issue.
No, it's not. We had dialogue.
Deputy,
You said over here
his
if you
time's
have
up.
dialogue.
Andrew, I'll
it's
give you
fine.
my card, and I'll have you come to the office and we can talk, okay?
We're not
All
going
right,
to be
give me your
disruptive
card.
tonight. Our next speaker is Christy Albaran.
Hello. My name is Christy Albaran. I'm a Beulah District 1 resident, military wife, mother, and skate director for the Greater Pensacola Figure Skating Club. As a Beulah resident and mother, I can say there's nothing here for our youth. There's no activities, after-school programs, there's nothing. I don't think I have to explain to everyone that when our kids get bored, they tend to get into trouble. It's one of the reasons why I'm a huge advocate for extracurricular activities, whether that's art, music, athletics, or a sport that combines all three, like figure skating does. Skating is not a seasonal sport. We have a saying in figure skating, if you don't use it, you lose it. So year-round ice rink would not only benefit our already existing skaters, which include approximately 500 figure skaters and youth and hockey skaters combined, it would also greatly benefit our community as well. I propose OLF 8 would make the perfect location for a year-round ice rink. Kids could come skate after school. They could learn not only a skill, but life lessons, like how to fall down and get back up. Skating is not only a physical activity, but artistic as well, and offers a way for kids to express themselves. Kids could hold birthday parties, and schools could go on field trips together at the ice rink, and families would have an activity to do things together on the weekends. A year-round ice rink would also provide many employment opportunities for our community. It's the perfect place for teenagers to get their first job, along with many other higher-paying salary positions. Or for the many coaches like myself, we could earn an actual living wage. As a parent of a competitive figure skater, I want my daughter and all of our skaters to have the same opportunities I was afforded when I was growing up. To skate no matter the time of year, to practice, do shows, competitions, and the ability to pursue my dream. Right now, here in Escambia County, that is just not possible. So I urge you to please consider a developer who will support a year-round ice facility for OLF 8 and the positive impact ice sports will have on our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Larry Downs, you're up next, Junior.
Giddy up. Let's do it. Larry Downs, Junior Plumbing, LLC, because fecal matters. I'm not quite as good as Andrew about getting all riled up, but I can a little bit. I think y'all should do what I've been telling y'all to do with this for however many years. Why don't y'all just auction it off and y'all get out of it? Why y'all even in it? You know, a few dollars from Triumph or whoever, forget all that. Let them spend it somewhere else. Stop manipulating real estate. That's what you're doing. Just let one of these, just let them have it all. And if skating, ice skating, you know, figure skating is profitable, then they'll put one there. Otherwise, it seems mighty expensive, you know, for some kids to do some skating. You know, maybe we ought to send them to trade school. Maybe that would be more appropriate out there on that property. A trade school. Let's teach them how to work. You know, any kid can play. You know, I mean, we need a little bit more than what we're getting here. And y'all, whatever y'all do with it, whatever hand y'all have in it, just in general, you know you can only mess it up worse. At least let these contractors or these developers, let them do it. If it's going to be messed up, let them do it. Auction it off. Do a silent auction. Let whoever bids the highest, get out of the real estate business. Limited government. Oh, no, you don't try to cut me off. I got 47 seconds, 46 seconds, 45. Anyways.
Stretch it out.
Anyways, what I'm saying is y'all know this is not limited government. This is how you do it right here. This is how you get something that is unsustainable, which is what our whole country is right now. It's unsustainable. And stop getting those damn COVID shots.
Thank you, Larry. Todd Thompson, you're up, and then Joe Snyder's on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd Thompson, President and CEO of the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. And again, I'm heartened by the comments I heard this morning and at previous meetings about the emphasis on jobs. It's been the position of our board of directors that we maintain that focus, that we look, as Mr. Bowe said, for good, clean, high-paying jobs that are above the county median. This is a unique opportunity, and don't want to lose this opportunity. This is a unique piece of land in a unique location, and we want to make sure that we maximize potential for jobs. Again, good, clean, high-paying jobs for our citizens, and just continue to be able to grow our economy. Thank you again. Delivered a letter this morning. I hope you all got to see reiterating our stance And we look forward to seeing the job growth and creation out at OLF 8. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Joe Snyder, is Joe out there? Okay, thanks, Joe. Come on up. And Dave, you're up next. Dave Hoaxing, you're after him.
First off, good evening, and it must be something very important, very passionate for me to come up and miss the beginning of Notre Dame in the semifinal game this evening. But there's no other place I'd rather be here than here tonight. My name is Joe Snyder. I live in Huntington Creek, the neighborhood right next to the Equestrian Center. I'm a thrice graduate of the University of West Florida, a 21-year veteran of the Escambia County School District. So needless to say, I have blood, sweat, and tears in the Escambia County, Also, heavy heart and empty wallet in Escambia County. But one thing I would like to address is that I know we have heard a lot of quantitative information over the past years, I guess at this point, but I would like to speak on some qualitative information. When my wife and I moved into Huntington Creek in 2016, we purchased one of the first model homes in that subdivision. So needless to say, we were pretty much by ourselves. We did notice that a gentleman would constantly be driving around the neighborhood. I struck up a conversation one day with that gentleman, and it happened to be the developer, Fred Hemmer. Since then, we have maintained a good professional relationship. I sat on the transition board for the neighborhood. I was the first HOA president, and I can guarantee you that if Fred Hemmer does get OLF 8, he will follow through with his promises. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. He is very into helping Escambia County. It kind of reminds me a little bit when people would give Mr. Studer so much backlash, and we're just so lucky to still have him around. I feel the same way about Fred Hemmer. We need a town center. We need places to eat. We shouldn't have to go 15, 20 minutes to have a good meal, to have good shopping. We really need a good town center, and I believe Fred Hemmer is the man for the job. So please consider him heavily when you hopefully vote on it this evening.
Thank you, Joe. Dave Hoaxing, you're up next. Karen Thompson's on deck.
Happy birthday, David.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday, Dave. I'm sorry, thanks, yeah. You feel young today, or 50? How old?
Yeah, 50, let's say 50,
Okay.
something like that. Well, first of all, thank you all, commissioners, for the amount of time you're putting into analyzing OLF 8. This is a major, major decision for our county, and I know you each have spent a lot of time in it. So I'm Dave Hoxie. My wife Mary and I own Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 93.2, 92.3. That was the test. ESPN 1330 and Playlist 94.5. We're here to serve our community and support our community. So in economic development, which to me is jobs, bringing good jobs to our community, to put money in people's pockets to increase our wealth. Mary and I have invested over $70,000 in the last 15 years in private support of economic development. You guys put a lot more into it than we do, but we have skin in the game too. So my ask tonight has to do with the importance of public ownership of the 271 acres that has been designated a DPZ plan for job growth. The benefit of public ownership is, number one, we can use millions of dollars of other people's money. PDC has already got the preliminary grant, as you know, step one, for $14 million, and our economic development people think we can double that. It's great when we bring money into our county because that too increases our wealth. And also, if you continue to own the land as the county, which is what I advocate, you have the ability to use it for job incentives. Whereas if we're bringing in a company that wants to put 20 PhDs to work, you might give them that land less expensively. Santa Rosa County has been very successful in doing that sort of thing. So my ask tonight is hold back the 271 acres for county ownership, as well as however much acreage is needed for the boulevard that goes from the south to the north. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dave. Karen Thompson, are you out there? You're not Karen Thompson.
Yeah, I'm not Karen. Karen put her name down. I have after Karen.
Do you have to sign up? I mean,
She's not going to speak tonight.
why didn't you sign up tonight?
I don't know.
I'll give you a minute.
No, I'm signed up, I believe, after.
Is he on the list?
What's her name? Peter Bolton.
Peter Bolton. Come up and speak. You had 2 minutes. We'll just.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So come speak, Karen. We're going to use your time.
Commissioners.
It's okay. Yeah, Peter Bolton.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Peter Bolton. I live in Beulah. At the PEDC meeting last month, Commissioner Barry stated, deeding OLF 8 is off the table and will be not deeding the property to BEDC. Multiple witnesses heard that morning. They were all here tonight, too. But that very night at the Marathon meeting, he brought it up again for consideration. The voters have lost all faith in Commissioner Barry's word. We just can't believe you. And I thanked you for doing that in an earlier meeting, but then you changed your tune in a later meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't say that. I said if the majority of the board wanted to do something, whatever.
You said it was off the table,
it was
so
meant-
we're going back and forth here. We have people in this meeting that heard what you said at both meetings. So, moving forward, there was an issue about the cell phone policy, and I see we have another missing commissioner here tonight.
That's a later topic. Let's stay on OLF 8, Peter.
Well, it directly relates to this because it was publicly admitted by that commissioner he's directly communicating with Mr. Bear. And that's inappropriate as well. If there are communications at this public meeting regarding this topic, they should be made public and not have to go through a months-long request for open records.
I don't know that.
It's inappropriate, and it undermines our trust in the board. If you can't go 3 hours one night a month without your phone, you shouldn't be representing us. OLF 8 belongs to the county. Thus, it belongs to us, the people, the voters. The commission is tasked to oversee adherence to the master plan. PEDC is not going to do that. And the commission, the voters, lose all control. Why would we gift an asset and surrender control and receive zero compensation? PEDC claims millions in assets, yet still owes the county $2.5 million.
Peter, finalize your thoughts, please.
The last project, the tech park, it's just a park. There's no tech. It's a failure. We need better.
Thank you.
And we need this to go to a private developer, not an economic development commission.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would normally respond to a speaker, but since I was specifically named, I spent made quite a bit of effort at the last board meeting to try to have the board make a decision to enter into negotiations with the private developer. And I'm not just going to abjectly let someone say something that's not true. I said what I said in the PEDC meeting. That's true. That's the same sentiment that I had in the board meeting when we had our discussion. So that's just incorrect.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Commissioner Berry. All right, at this point, I'm down to just the speakers that are with the developers. So I got for Beulah Center, I got Chad Nashton for, or what am I saying, for Tri-West, I got Chad Nashton for Beulah Center, I got Rob, Brian, and Will, and then of course Ryan Bell. You're going to speak too. Well, that's why we're going to give you 10 minutes. You want to do it together? Is that reasonable? Who speaks? Is that okay? Okay. So let's start with you, Tri-West, if that's okay. And you got 10 minutes, and however you want to break up the time, I don't
Chairman,
care.
just point of clarification. The last speaker, and I was out there taking care of something that was special, I don't represent him, so he can be very clear about that. I don't represent people with that ideology, so I just wanted to be clear, the last speaker.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. And Chad, welcome tonight. I know there's glad to see you again.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, 1 second here, please.
Are you doing a PowerPoint or something?
Yes, sir. Can I pull up the
Okay.
PowerPoint?
He's got it? Okay. Stay here to help him up, Peter. Peter, can you help? Okay. He's our IT. So.
All right.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead. Sorry
Mr.
about
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. My name is Chad Henderson. I'm representing Catalyst Wilson Development Team. We appreciate the time to come back before you and present what we feel is our capabilities and our experience to move OLF8 forward. Some of these things I'm going to share with you that I've mentioned before, but I do think it's important to reiterate them. We truly believe that this is way more than a real estate transaction. This is a partner selection. We understand the gravity of the decision and how much has gone on to get to this point. There have been many people before us up here working on this very project. Over a decade of effort from community leaders to get here. What this is about, in our opinion, is to create true alignment, a trusted partnership, and ultimately desired outcomes. That's what this is about. There are three major facets that we shared with you last time that we felt were very important. One of those it was kind of grounded with job creation. That's where this started, was job creation and creating an E-district that would be meaningful, that would be unified and intentional about going out to find great employers to come here, to come to Escambia County. That will take all of us. That will take the county. That will take Florida West. That will take PEDC. That will take business and community leaders to be a united voice. Again, from a partnership perspective of getting the right jobs to Escambia County. And we have to believe. If we do well to curate what we call the beating heart of Beulah, that will only help the job creation element. A mixed-use district, a retail node where people can spend time and money there, making memories with family. That's what we would do. We would create experiences. We understand the DPZ plan, and we would work within them. We would be very purposeful about creating a mix of uses that are only national, that not only national tendency, but regional as well as local flavor, to create a sense of place, a place that Beulah can be proud of, and a place that Beulah can take part of. There is already a community out there. That community is one that is growing, and so OLF8 absolutely needs to serve that community and that growing community and give those goods and services and create places where they can make memories, have human connectivity, walkability, and experiences. A mixed-use district, the heart of Beulah, is extremely important. Finally, we want to talk about, we talked about stewardship, about you being a steward of this property, and how choosing the right developer now means everything. One developer. I've said it before, and Commissioner Strohberger has helped me coin the phrase of one throat to choke, of having one developer out there to wake up with their ass on fire for every day to go after it and make something happen, and to move the needle, in the direction that we all want it to go. This is more than just an upfront purchase price. I'll show you examples in a bit how certainly purchase price is important, but it's not the only thing. We'll share with you why we think that is very important. So this is you're a fiduciary of the broader community of Northwest Florida because this property is so unique. A developer with the right access to institutional capital, with national and regional relationships and local relationships, have the right team of significant talent and meaningful expertise and experience to bring a outcome that we all desire. Not just a sale of a property. I want to share with you quickly just a couple of case studies to touch on again. East Chase, my partner, JWA, did in Montgomery. I'm going to give you an example here. Almost 18, 20 years ago, this was a hayfield. This parcel was a hayfield and now accounts for almost 28% of Montgomery's operating budget, almost $50 million a year. A year. 4,500 jobs of a $250 million investment. That is way more investment than just infrastructure and land development. This is vertical construction with relationships, vertical development. Capitalizing, working with end users, and creating spaces and places for them to create jobs and create experiences for the community. Redstone Gateway, this is really important. There is optionality in what we're talking through. Certainly, there is a pathway for one developer to privately develop the entire property. There are other pathways that would lead to a public-private partnership. As an example, this is Redstone Gateway, another one of my partners' developers in Huntsville, Alabama, that's 468 acres that is owned by the United States government. They did not buy this 468 acres. They were selected as the master developer to bring infrastructure, to bring jobs. They have created almost 8,700 jobs and over a $500 million development on this publicly owned site. I'm going to give you a local example here with the Henderson Health Center, a project that Catalyst, based here in Pensacola, Florida, developed, a $51 million project. This project is on a ground lease. We have talked to you individually about what a subordinated ground lease means. If there is a public-private partnership, some of those grounds and lands have to remain public. The only way to go vertical on that is to enter into a long-term ground lease. The ability to get investors and lenders involved in creating those spaces and places is a knack, it's a niche. At Catalyst, we have over $1.8 billion of assets that we have done, we've acquired and developed across 21 states. Over half of that has been on subordinated ground leases. We did it right here in Pensacola. On the 3rd and 4th floor, we recruited an inpatient rehab hospital operator from out of market. That's 120 new jobs. Also very involved in downtown with the East Garden District, curating spaces and ground floor activation that creates walkability and human connectivity, again, where people would want to come spend time and money. Developing one exit down the road from OLF 8, the Ransley Station, which is roughly 60 acres of a mix of uses that serve the community. I'm a graduate of Pine Forest High School, and so this area is near and dear to me. And this is a legacy opportunity for me as well. I talked about being a platform, an integrated platform with both Catalyst and us, so we're not outsourcing. I'm not up here talking on behalf of myself personally and bringing in a company. Down the street is our home office with over 30 full-time employees that live here, 20 more that live in other states, but these are capital markets personnel, folks involved in strategy, development, construction, finance, accounting, asset management, things that would be very pivotal to have a successful project on OLF 8. JWA has over 200 employees and very much match up with Catalyst in creating a vertically integrated partnership to go execute at OLF 8. While we have a vast amount of residential experience, we are grounded in commercial, retail, and healthcare vertical development. We are not land developing and selling to sub-developers or selling to builders. We have capital and institutional capital to create on our own accord and to build this, to work with users, to recruit users. We have capital and to build and to create these places. We have a track record of working with a significant amount of institutional capital. We have a local presence, as I mentioned, down here in downtown Pensacola with Catalyst, and we have a relationship throughout Northwest Florida and beyond that would be accretive to this development. You know, we get it, we want it, we have the capacity, we have the relationships to execute on this project. Now, my final minute, I want to chat through a little bit more about from a purchase price perspective. Last time I was up here, I was asked if we had any more gas in the tank, and we matched the price, which we did. We are not interested in going and coming and going and coming in front of a public forum and giving back in offers. We think this is way too big of an opportunity. What we would humbly ask is that we're engaged in negotiation. We believe we can bring great value to this, and if our number is not the number, maybe there is a number we have more gas than tank that we can get to. We're aware of the other two offers, and we're comfortable with that range if there's true value between us as partners. But to go back and to come here, go back, and all the while just come up with numbers, there's so much optionality that can happen in this property. You need a partner. You need a partner that has experience, that has access to capital, that gets it, that wants it, that has the capacity and relationships to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Chad. Yes, Commissioner.
Chad.
Yes, sir.
Quickly, two things for me, because literally, this is developed into something that it initially was not. This was a job creation project, period. And that's how it was presented and accepted. But I certainly accept where it has developed from. What's your ceiling price and what's your maximum job commitment?
Well,
and those are like the only two questions I've ever asked anybody. I mean, what's the maximum price and what is your commitment to how many jobs?
Mr. Commissioner, Commissioner May, I very much appreciate and respect your question. Last time you asked me that, I matched a price, and I said, well, what's going to happen when somebody comes in $500,000 more? The reality is that we believe we bring great value, and we believe we can get to a market price. However, if it becomes a bidding war and price is the only thing that this board, values, then I'm not sure.
And the reason I said jobs, Chad, because it's not for me just the bidding war. It's jobs and price.
So I'm answering your first question, is that we do have gas in the tank. And that's why we would ask that if we were engaged and if there was a number that folks could recognize our value as a platform and as a developer, we would work towards that number. We understand the range of where the offers are currently, and we're not scared of that range. We feel, but we can work. Now, but there is optionality through this on how this property gets developed. And why Triumph dollars are important is that because they're grant funding that overall is an extremely low cost of capital. If you perform, the cost of capital is zero. That is accretive for a developer in a partnership to go recruit. That can be passed along to the users, to the jobs creation. So I mentioned earlier, Commissioner May, East Chase had 4,500 jobs at 300 and roughly 30 acres. The project in Huntsville is 468 jobs. As it currently sits, it's at 8,700 jobs. We feel that we can create thousands of jobs on this site and create the right jobs with the ecosystem of our partners in our network, coupled with the resources of the county. We feel that we have a very strong unified voice to go recruit the right types of jobs to come to OLF 8. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chad. I have no problem asking questions. I like that. I didn't know if we wanted to get all the presentations and have people come. But it's up to you. No. You want to ask as we go? Okay, that's fine. Because if we do that and then we get more time, I don't want people to say. No, you're good. No, those are good questions. And when we get to discussion, I'll talk more about it. Ryan Bell, would you like to go next?
Well, good evening, Commissioners. I'm asking for the opportunity tonight to get to work. My offer is $45 million for the full 540 acres of outlying Field 8. Closing period in 8 months with a due diligence period of 6 months, after which my $100,000 earnest money deposit is non-refundable. My attorney Trip Maygarden and I have done our best to make this a mutually beneficial contract with clear commitment to the DPZ master plan. I believe in the DPZ master plan, and I believe in the community of Beulah. Nearby neighboring community of Cantonment, I went to Tate High School and graduated in 2006. Tate shares an agricultural and equestrian community with an award-winning 4-H program in FFA. I drove by there the other day and I saw that there's more cows, and in speaking with community members, there is continuing education in agriculture and equestrian training. So I believe in this for the 50,000 residents of Beulah, but I also believe in this in the over 300,000 residents of Escambia County. And that is why I have engaged with stakeholders like Mr. Eddie Todd, a community leader in Belmont DeVillers and an architect, as well as John Rigsby with Urban Development Center, to make sure that there are internships and training programs to those underserved in our community and can have the same opportunity for the types of jobs I'll bring to the OLF 8 field. So tonight, I'm excited to announce who some of my partners are. So the architect team that I'm working with is DAG, and I've mentioned that before. So tonight, I have John Shang. He's a designer with DAG. And I also have with White Construction, who's on the construction team, Mr. Chad Pippin. He's a VP with that firm, and he's also here tonight. So these two teams have extensive experience in doing developments like this. And I want to start with DAG. DAG has worked on a DPZ design before and implemented it in Rosemary Beach, so I want to show a picture of that. And this is a community that has walkability, and you can see the bikeability there. It's shops and restaurants, beautiful aesthetics. DAG has also worked on a town center development that is very similar to what DPZ has designed for the Beulah area in Biltmore, and that is located in Asheville, North Carolina. Beautiful design. So a little bit about DAG. They have over 100 employees and can do any type of scale, especially a scale of this size of this 540 acres. So I want to talk a little bit about White Construction and the development that they've done over their history. And they have built 6 million acres of residential. They have built 3 million acres of manufacturing, and they've built over 5 million acres, square feet, not acres, of retail space. So I just want to scroll through a little bit and show some of the condos they've built, but mainly want to focus on some of the retail space that they've built. Beautiful residential design, retail space for companies like Porsche. They've built over 60 World Whole Food markets, And they've also built award-winning retail. This is the Army-Navy Exchange in El Paso. Beautiful design there. And then also some of their manufacturing space. And one company, such company, was Dell Corporation. So in closing, I'm confident and committed to the DPZ master plan. My investors are committed to the DPZ master plan. Architect team is committed to the DPZ master plan. White Construction is also committed to the DPZ master plan. We can all accomplish these goals of the DPZ master plan. We will do so in a way that is right for this development, right for the residents of Beulah, and right for the residents of Escambia County as a whole. So one thing I want to emphasize is both of my competitors are in a position where they have multiple projects. This would be my life's work. This would be my singular focus to execute this project and to bring the shops and the restaurants and the jobs that this community is looking for, that you as a board and commissioners are looking for. And this would be something that I put my full focus and my full attention to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Actually, I've been to that Army-Navy Exchange in El Paso back in '11. It is nice. I appreciate the granularity. We got it late in the day. I don't know if everyone was able to look at some of the stuff. That I hate when we get this stuff late in the day because I like to read through things and mull over them, but I realize it's a competitive environment, what we're dealing with right now. Any questions, or should we move on to, okay. Chad who's speaking for you guys tonight? Is it Brian or Will or Rob? I don't know. You have 3 people on the list. All 7 of you, or no? Okay. All right. Who's up first?
I'll kick it off. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'd first like to make sure, before I begin any of my narrative, were commissioners given any of the printed material, including the comparisons?
Yes. legal put together a document for us to look at the
One is in
differences between.
landscape form, if you don't mind,
Can we grab that,
versus
Jose?
portrait form. That's,
Hey, we'll
so
get it.
that's a differentiating. All right, I see the clock has started. First of all, thank you, all of you commissioners, just again, always for providing your public service that you do on a day-to-day basis. And to say it's daily is perhaps a disservice. It's nightly, sometimes obviously going to midnight. And because of that, actually, because of the last memorable meeting, we are intentionally going to be brief, although we've been given a 10-minute allocation. I also want to especially thank you individually, commissioners, for figuring out a way to insert us into your busy schedule so that we could have productive sessions, conversations, and what I would call really Q&A sessions with you individually that allowed us to best facilitate and finalize our offer that is before you tonight. I'd also like to thank, I'll turn around for this, but I'd like to thank those that are here tonight, the Beulah stakeholders, those that are here and as well as viewing on TV, those Beulah people that have not just in the past several weeks, but for years been vigilant in doing what they can as stakeholders to help them formulate a predictable and positive outcome. I'd like to thank those that attended the Tuesday night meeting. Certainly, Teresa Blackwell, thank you for facilitating and hosting that event. Admittedly, I had a godson in from California and couldn't make that meeting. All right. As I said, we've elected to be brief. We will not be presenting any new graphics. You have seen that show. But most importantly, I do want to take this opportunity to highlight what I think is one of the strongest assets of this team, certainly Metro Development. They are a nationally known development group with 22 years of depth of experience of building communities. So I do think that's a differentiation that I would be remiss if I didn't point that out. And as many of you have gotten to meet, Rob Aarons, one of the founding owners, who has helped earn that company the stellar national reputation. He's a humble man. He could maybe take some lessons from charismatic Ashton Hayward. Someone that you have to almost pull out the accolades and the trophies that he so quietly almost forces you to discover and identify. Rob has a deep history also with members of this team. This is not a group that saw an opportunity and just happened to get together. Chad Horn and Rob have been, their business alliance dates back to 2002 when the company was formed. And then we've got Fred Hemmer and Chad Horn, who have a 35-year history together, beginning business alliances 30 years ago. I myself have joined Fred Hemmer and Chad in the development sphere or sector 9 years ago. We know one another. We know what we do. We know what we believe in. Again, the way I like to describe Metro Development Group, because of their depth of community development experience and their proven capacity and the legacy that spans 22 years, it's not an overstatement to describe them as the DPZ in community building. They have, we want to talk about jobs, the statistics are staggering. Thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs have been created because of their successful community building and placemaking. Rob and his team, they know how to make town centers. They know how to make those hubs that draw people and generate growth, not only residents, business owners, but also jobs. So finally, I am going to hand it over now to Mr. Will Dunaway. I certainly we're here to answer questions, but at this point, I invite you to take a look at the handouts. As someone that has sat in a similar chair on the city council, I know that these decisions are sometimes best made if information is distilled to some very basic bullet points. That's what we have done for you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will Dunaway, representing Beulah Town Center, Metro Hemmer Group. Commissioners, the principals have sold themselves on the project, their qualifications, and what we'd like to leave you with as you're going to deliberate and make hopefully a decision on a partner for this evening is to focus on what has been our focus throughout the negotiations with you for over a year, and that is getting to an agreement, a signed, written purchase and sale agreement. And that is what this new term sheet is trying to lay out for you and provide you the guidance. Now, it is very clear that during the last year, the project changed, as did the makeup of the board. We recognize that. We're still here working it, but more importantly, we're here with the focus and the details to get you to a signed agreement with our team. And that comes in from the term sheet that you have there. So beyond the price, we get to the issue of the deposits, which we've heard you say over and over again. We want to see more, and we want to see it detailed in when you are going to see agreements. What we are proposing is that within 30 days, well, within 5 days of an executed purchase and sale agreement, you get the non-refundable the first deposit. Within 5 days of the BCC approval of an initial site plan, which we are committed to providing to you in 90 days. In 30 days from when you approve, then we're committed to providing you with a detailed timeline of the entire project, which its key timelines, its key deliverables, and having negotiated that with your staff, ultimately leading to a master development agreement, which will incorporate, and we have already indicated to you at the last meeting, that DPZ will be engaged to be, and they will be engaged by the developer to be the master planner for this, making the recommendations on how this master development plan should be implemented. Now, we've gone through that because we know the details of working with your land development code. We know how this works to actually get something built, and we know that it's going to take the partnership between the developer and the county. And we need, and your staff needs, because quite frankly, we were not able to get across the finish line the last time you said go and negotiate, because in working with staff did not know exactly what it was we needed to do to get there. Recall that when you approved it, we were not dealing with the entire 540 acres. We were only dealing with a portion. And so we know, and we have heard very clearly from you at both the long meeting and that we had last, and in our private conversations. We know what it is. We know what you're saying. I think staff has heard that also, and we are committed to getting there with this detailed outline of deliverables with key dates on when they will be approved, when they will be submitted, and commitment to you to work together. The final commitment being that within 60 days of a vote, if you approve this project and this team for negotiation, then we will are committed to working with staff and having that signed purchase and sale agreement, not an option agreement, but a purchase and sale agreement within 60 days. It is very clear that your focus has been two things, jobs and price, but you can't get there unless you have a clear path on how we come together to get approvals. And while a negotiation we hope you make tonight will be favorable to the Beulah Town Center. We know that there is more negotiation forward, but we are here to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement, a signed contract that you can show constituents we have it done, and we have a timeline to get this thing over the finish line. That's the commitment that this team has, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Will. Board, I'm going to ask if we could have conversation, find out what's important to each commissioner for a little bit. We've had some great briefs. The board's in a great position tonight. This is tough. I went back and looked at the videos twice to listen to what my fellow colleagues wanted because we can't talk, right? I've told you both what I thought was important to me, and I'll highlight that after I hear some of the things here. But I'd like to start it open for discussion. I don't care who goes first. Is there anyone that would like to lead?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I'm really of the same mindset that I was in December. You know, the purchase price is important. It's important to a degree, but there's also a larger picture. It's going to be the revenue that comes off the property in perpetuity after it's developed. I think it is the selection of a development partner, and I think it's important as part of the presentation that Chad made, where he was discussing the East Chase project is one thing. 4,500 jobs on 330 acres. That's a substantial amount of job density. That's a good number. But I think the Redstone Arsenal piece, where it is a larger job number, but it's also important to show that JWA and Wilson and Chad with some other projects, I think they also have the ability to work with economic development and job growth on portions that are still publicly owned, that are still owned by the government. And I don't think any eventual mix of that is off the table as far as what might potentially happen there. I think that there's the capacity for part of the property, to be privately owned. I think there's the capacity for part of the property to be publicly owned if there's a reason to do so. I mean, if we can put that into a purchase and sale agreement, and it is a big decision to enter into negotiations with somebody, but the much, in my opinion, the much bigger decision is going to be as we actually bring a contract back to the board, because the devil is going to be in the details. The top number can be whatever, but if we're going to tie the property up in contract terms that are not advantageous to the board, we're not going to realize that top number regardless. And if and when we're able to bring a contract back to the board, I think that's talk about one of the most important decisions in your public service, or it's a huge decision for the county overall, and it's hard to think that very early on you'd have a decision that would have decades-long impact. But for a couple of new colleagues, I mean, I think it will. But it's really going to be when that contract comes back to the board. That's the point in time that we have to be 100% confident that we're entering into a contract that will be closed and that will be developed in the way that the majority of the board wants it. If we were to enter into negotiations with somebody and, again, be unable to get to terms that come back to the board, then we enter into contract negotiations with somebody else. It is important, the action that we take tonight, but it's really important when the contract is going to come back to us. So, I would like for the board to enter into discussions with Tri-W or JWA companies and Catalyst to see if we could get to that point. But I'm certainly That's just my opinion. Well, I'll wait and see what my colleagues
You know,
think.
Steve, you brought that up, and I listened to that, and I do think whatever we go, we need to put some pretty good parameters on the contract quickly. So, because I think all three of the folks here tonight are qualified to do the job. I agree with that. I think that we can get to a contract, I hope, with whoever prevails. But I hear you. Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I've certainly not been remiss or quiet in yielding to my colleagues to my right and to my left, and I'm certainly take with a lot of decision-making with my colleague, Commissioner Berry, because before we were ever elected, before there was any sunshine, this was talked about without this community, and quite frankly, the developers that were on the initial origin of this are developers who I thought were great, who are great for this community, who are proven, and unfortunately, because of politics, they were X'd out, and they did a great deal of work. And so I'm on record of saying that Jim Cronley probably contributed more to this development in Admiral Kelly than anyone else. And so I always support that. And so I'm certainly going to give deference to Commissioner Berry, and because of this adversely or directly or affects his district, but it's in a district of Commissioner Stroberger, as I've respected Commissioner Bagash. I'm certainly going to respect Commissioner Stroberger as we try to get there. This is too major of a project to have divisiveness on the board, and so this is one of the largest projects that we'll probably see in our career here. It's important that we as a board become supportive, because the decision tonight is only the beginning of zoning, planning, additional dollars, things that's going to still take consensus on this board to move this project, or it could stay dormant like the tech park has stayed for years. And so under my watch, I don't want to look back at a vacant piece of property that was well-intentioned, great ideas, but never developed. And so how do we get that development there? And so for me, I've been very clear. This was an economic development project for job creation. There's no question about it. If anyone goes back and record any of the meetings, that's how it was presented. It was developed into, maybe a town center, maybe housing, maybe residential housing, maybe Navy Federal comes in, maybe we have a public park, maybe we have housing, maybe we have schools, maybe we have swimming pools, maybe we have ice skating rinks, maybe we have this, or maybe we have that. But at the end of the day, for all 5 districts, this was an opportunity to create jobs, because we were landlocked, and Santa Rosa County was beating us to the finish line each and every time because we didn't have shovel-ready projects. That's what I heard from Florida West. That's what I heard from PEDC. We have no land. I mean, the land in Century, it's up hills. It can't be developed. We don't have any land to develop. Superfund site is contaminated. We'd love to create jobs, Commissioner May, but we don't have shovel-ready sites. And so for me, this was a shovel-ready site that happens. Mr. Chairman, who am I? I'm not a developer. I'm not going to try to negotiate it. I think all of our developers are able. I mean, some people may not even like Beulah Ranch. I tell you what, I will say this about Beulah Ranch with all 3 developers. He's the most inclusive for me in my district. He's reached out to people that support me. He's reached out to people that are going to hire people in my district more than any other developer Beulah Ranch has. He's certainly been, even in this era when diversity, equity, inclusion is a bad word, he's been inclusive. So I do appreciate that for what he has done, and that certainly gains value with me. At the end of the day, we create jobs, has value, and certainly if we have to hear from them in some other way of what the bottom line number is, the bottom line number is important to me because it's important to my constituents. More importantly, job creation and being able to work. This is just not a private project. Although I'm going to tell you, I'm going to vote for it to all go private, whoever we get to.
because I don't want to go any other way. But it is a public-private project of who can work with Florida West, who can work PEDC, who can work with creating these jobs. And so we'd like to say, well, they have alarm, the reciprocity, traffic increase, all those things. We have to be able to understand that citizens are hurting now. Citizens need jobs today. People can't afford a house today. I appreciate, what people have said, the long-term, 20-year indirect or direct effect on what's going to happen on our economy. But, quite frankly, I have a laundry list of people that can't pay their rent today. Have a laundry list of people who, because of the cold, can't pay their utilities, who are making $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour that can't pay their bills. And so I'm looking for the immediate impact. And so, Mr. Chairman, if you're asking for me, in God we trust, all sign on the dotted line. If there's not a clawback on the jobs, if there's not provisions in which we're going to receive the money, it's going to be difficult for me to get there. And so that's what I look for. I know that happens in the negotiations with our attorney. I talked with her offline today, and she feels reasonably confident that she can negotiate those terms and and I guess there's a bell telling me that my time is up. But
We'll give you 15 more.
give me Andrew Brewer time, or maybe Larry Downs. I don't care. But so that's where I am. I've been very clear. For me, dollars and jobs in respect to Commissioner Stroberg or Commissioner Bagash and Commissioner Berry are where I am. Does the purchase price probably have more impact on me than it does Commissioner Berry or maybe Commissioner Stroberg? It probably does. But more importantly, the immediate jobs and the penalties, not just a clawback. You just don't claw back money when people don't meet their performance measures. What's the penalty that's going to occur if you're telling me that you're going to do something and then you don't do it? Because I'm an elected official, I'm a politician. The developer walks away and he said I was going to do it. Didn't happen. So what? As the elected official, I respond to the people. And so if I don't deliver to the people what I tell them that I'm going to deliver, and then they're going to hold that across my head. So that's kind of where I am. And we were at midnight last time, and I was one of the people that didn't think that you should make a multi-million-dollar deal after the midnight hour. But tonight, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to raise my hand and make the vote and make the best decision after listening to my colleagues and listening to what we've said and get the response of those. But it's jobs and dollars to me, with clawbacks.
Thank you very much, Commissioner May. Commissioner Stroberg, do you want to go next? Or I guess we're just going down the line. I don't really. Yeah. I said whoever could go however they want to, but.
All right. So it's been a long process for everybody, but me and Ashley. Hasn't been a long process for us. But I think we've both been thinking about it a long time, just on the sidelines. Before I was elected, I met with Commissioner May and Commissioner Berry, and I told them I'd like to get to 5-0 votes every time. And we can't get to 5-0 votes every time until we start having more discussions. And now we're having cows, so I think we're having those discussions. I don't think we're going to get to a 5-0 vote tonight, though. I wish we could. I don't think we're going to go wrong. We got a problem. It's a good problem. For me, the problem got easier to solve about an hour and a half ago. I don't know if everyone else is going to agree with me, but I do expect whoever the developer is to work with the PEDC to develop jobs. I don't think anybody is going to have a problem developing jobs on the OLF8 property. Thank you, David, for having me over and kind of giving me the idea what light industrial looks like. I've seen it, but I was really surprised when I got to see your facility on Enterprise, that it was as quiet as it is. And it's in a residential area. I'm not advocating for him to move out there. I'm just saying I got a better perspective of what light industrial looks like. We also talked about
the Triumph money. And we have 14.2 kind of preliminarily approved. I think you said it's like a $56 million project, so we only asked for about a quarter of it. There's a clawback for that too, Lumen, and that clawback is, I don't know what the terms are for that, but what was it, 338 jobs we have to create in a given time period, otherwise we owe that money back. But we still have we have another 14 million plus the other, well, the 56 minus the 14 million that we will have to pay on that project. That's a $56 million road improvement infrastructure project. That's a lot of money. And we're not guaranteeing any jobs over there any more than we did at the tech park when we put infrastructure down there and we romanced some folks to come and take a look, and they kind of backed off because it wasn't exactly what they wanted. But we've got about $1.6 million in the ground there that's got to get changed. So I don't know if there was a clawback for that. Allison, do you know? At the tech park? For that?
So there was a federal economic development grant that was given many years ago, and there is a clawback.
The timeframe's expired on that.
I know that.
The EDA, the
I
EDA
think even
is.
the representatives of the Federal Economic Development Agency said they didn't really have a process for the return of those funds, so.
Well, I'm saying even during the clawback period, they didn't have the process to take the funds back, but we're outside the period now anyway. So it doesn't make any difference.
Well, that's just an example of what we're not doing right, I think, at the tech park. I want to get things right. So I don't think just because I was elected that I have any special privileges up here. We still have an equal vote, okay? And I still would like to get to 5-0 votes. I think another thing, I talked to Lumen, and I probably said the same thing to Ashley. I know I've said it to what's your name? Commissioner Kohler? Yeah. And Stephen, I talked about coming up to the dais, and every time we come up here, I want to shake hands and I want to know what's going on with you guys and your families and stuff, because I want it to be that kind of relationship up here. That's what makes this hard, because I'm developing those kinds of relationships with the guys that we're working with, these developers, which great folks. We're not going to lose on this. We're not losing anything. We're going to have the outcome's going to be great. And I don't think these developers are worried about Triumph money. Is anyone worried about Triumph money? Do you need that money to develop jobs out there and put the infrastructure in the ground? I don't think you do either. So it's been a long process, I know. And for the residents, I know it seems like it's been a really long process probably for the residents out there, but think about where you've come from. I mean, that whole 640 acres at one time was just for economic development. Now you've got NFCU out there. We've been talking about a town center and some housing, and there's a lot of green space, and even a school. Now Navy Federal's out there. It looks beautiful. They've got 100 acres. So I think we're getting what we want. I think we're doing a great job. We're listening to the residents. The residents are listening to us. My job is to vote for you and representing you, but not just representing you, but I have to vote also knowing what I know. If you knew what I knew, then you would vote the way I do. And that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm going to vote for the developer I want, and I'm going to be happy with that. I won't be unhappy if I win or if I lose, but I like winning. I love the win. I'm not tired of winning yet. So, but good luck to all of you guys. I just want to thank you. It's been an honor to talk to all the developers. Ryan gave me a call yesterday while I was driving, and And I think I'm just humbled by the whole experience that I get to work with these great guys. Me and Gina were talking, I was telling her, and I've told some of you guys about the heaviness of this job, how heavy this job can be. And it's the same heaviness for all of us. I think that we're all trying to make the best choice we can. And I mean, I always, like I was mentioning to you guys, I said that I always felt like I was really good with pressure. I've got no problem with pressure. You can apply the pressure you want on me. I brought this with me. I used to memorize my emergency procedures. I had no problem with that. But there's no procedure here for this, for me at least. No one left me an SOP saying, here's how to vote on this, here's how to do this, here's how to separate yourself from the vote when you're talking to some friends. And you got to make the best decision possible. I think I'm going to make the best decision I can possible, and I think everyone else is going to make the decision that's the best decision for them too. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoffberger.
Awesome, thank you. I just appreciate the conversation that we've had around this. I don't think we all have to be 5-0 votes, and I know that to me it's important that we respect where each other come from. And I want to tell you thank you for bringing back the cow, because that gives us the ability to have that conversation. So thank you. When it comes to this property, the ability to execute on a vision and create tax dollars on the tax roll, along with a legacy for our community, is the most important part for me. We're going to do that by creating jobs and creating something beautiful. And when it comes to picking a partner, I want to make sure that we're picking the partner with experience in similar projects and similar size, and that has the team that is grounded here in our community. So for me, those are the things that are most important.
Thank Commissioner May, you have something?
Grounded in our community, picking a partner.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all the comments. I'll write a lot of things down. My decision-making process is based on the decisions I've had to make in the Navy that affected people's lives every day. I'd have to go back in the same workplace and work with them. I'd have to break bread with them at lunch. Some of them didn't get promoted. I didn't have that job once or twice. I had it for about 15 years. You don't get in a job where you manage hundreds of people multiple times, good people, just like you developers, and not have to make really, really tough decisions sometimes. I'm dreading this vote because I like y'all. But I wrote down the things that mattered to me, and I thought before a little while ago I knew where I was going to go. But I think the price is really important. It's hard to walk away from $7.5 million. That's a new firehouse in District 2. We haven't had a new firehouse in District 2 in 30 years. It's hard to walk away from that. 7 new firehouses. Andrew, that's your warning. Deputy, one more time, please take him out. That would bring up 7 firehouses with that kind of money. So that's a factor. It's not the only factor for me, though. It's a factor, and it should be for everyone here. It's a lot of money. Initial deposit. I asked you that because I think that the county deserves, if you're going to play in this game, that we shouldn't be at risk. And you all went to $100,000. I thank you for that. I mean that from my heart. Job creation. I told everyone the same thing, and I've heard it from all the fellow commissioners, that we should do everything we can to work with PEDC in Florida West. And I know for me, I want one developer to have the property and to work with them. And that's where I'm at. I think I heard Commissioner May say that as well. The timeline. For me, and I hope the board will agree with this, whoever gets it, I'd like a contract within 60 days so that we could bring it up on the March 25th. And if not, we should immediately move on to another bidder. I just think that's the right thing to do if we can't get a contract. These folks have all been involved, worked hard, and you guys need to work with our legal department to get this done. And if we can't, we need to give another person a chance. I just think that's fair. The inspection period is something I looked at. I've talked to you. I know the thing that we got here It still says 2 years for you, Chad. I know you told me something differently. Do you want to just tell me where you're at? I think you said a year, 15 months. I'm not really, has that changed?
We reduced the, yes, sir, it has changed. We reduced the time by 6 months. However, if there is we made that, that option period of 6 months could come back into play if we entered into negotiations of a public-private partnership. In other words, I mean, just to have that optionality, you know, if that comes to fruition. But to answer your question, we reduced it by 6 months, yes, sir. And so 60 days, so it's really a 14-month process.
Mr. Chairman, Chad, why are you just standing there and,
Yes, sir.
and I'm trying to reach consensus, listening to my colleagues, and I certainly respect and candidly agree with the chairman. In terms of purchase price, I know you alluded to a range, and so given the comments that the chairman made, I mean, is there a ceiling? I mean, it's unfortunate we're sitting here, as you said, let's not negotiate in public, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, when he's ready to make a decision in terms of price, and I mean, you know, and my number one priority is jobs, and then my number two priority is purchase price. But I certainly can, you know,
We are prepared
lean
to,
to
we
what
are prepared to, yes,
what
sir.
my colleague is saying.
Yes, we are prepared to negotiate, and we are prepared to raise our price through negotiations of understanding all the elements of the contract. We're aware of where the other two contracts are. That does not deter us from entering into it. We understand the purchase price is important, but we also understand the value that we bring to the table that's focused on outcomes. As we mentioned before, you know, a great outcome is more than this purchase price every year to you know, to the county. But to directly answer your question, Commissioner May, we are certainly willing to increase our price, but we would like to do that through negotiating, bringing back a full-fledged purchase and sales agreement with a price that whomever you delegate, I assume the county attorney to work with us, that you would accept. And if you wouldn't, if you didn't accept it, then we understand that you would move on to another party.
No, and I appreciate that, but, and I take with great empathy the chairman and what a firehouse means in his district and every other district. So I'm trying to make sure that our chairman is at a comfortable position with the number, and so not trying to lock you into anything. I mean, don't say anything that you don't want to do, but
Chad,
yes,
it's hard
so
to
that it was open.
you know, we got to go with what we have in front of us. I'm sorry? We have to go with what we have in front of us as the proposal, and that's what's putting me in an uncomfortable position for my vote, right?
Yeah.
And I'd tell you it'd be a lot easier for me to go with you. You're my friends. I had a price I could get. It wasn't $7.5 million.
Yeah.
And that's just too much. I can't go in front of the voters and say I turned down $7.5 million. I still think.
Well, I think there's a difference between, you know, with so much optionality out there. I mean, what we're talking about, you know, a public-private partnership in place, which I think could be very, very, very likely, you know, given the parameters that's been laid out in front of the board. And if that's the case, this is a whole different, you know, a whole different structure.
Give us again, Stone Chase or East Chase, what is the annual tax revenue per year from that development?
That is it's between 48 and around north of 50 million, 48 to 50 million annually on 330 acres.
Okay, so compared to the $7.5 million, that's
Yeah, in an
significantly more.
operating budget of $792, I don't want to discount $7.5 million, it's a lot of money, but $792 million operating budget, I mean, it's a number where if you have an outcome, you're investing in an outcome that's all desired, you know, not based in job creation, which is, I think, the number one factor for this. But we, again, I think for us, you know, what we'd like to do is we'd like to, again, I mean, we just humbly suggest that we would engage. If there, at some point there is, each one of you has expressed that our platform has value, and like you said, so if there is a number that you can accept, you know, with our value, then why can't we negotiate to that number? And if we can't get there, then you have two other developers that are readily available to talk to.
So, Chair, I mean, because, listen, I don't want to hear the midnight. I see where the chairman is going. So, in terms of this negotiation, I mean, to how we lean, I don't know if we negotiate this to 50 million, 52 million, 47 million, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of nuances that none of us can see at this point, and none of us are developing negotiators. I don't do this for a living. You guys do it. But I guess for me, I see where the chairman is, and I'm saying, if the chairman was to say that the ceiling is what we've had, is the 50 million, I mean, could you negotiate from that? If it negotiates down, if it negotiates up, I mean,
the $50 million number, in the right structure.
And I want to be clear, Chad, because I told you if you got the 42.5, I was going to be supportive. And so I said that in the last meeting. I certainly understand exactly where the chair is in trying to land this, where it can be. And so when he says, $7 million is a lot of money for a fire station, I mean, it's a hell of a lot of money for playgrounds and those type of things. And so those things are these jobs, are going to be created, and they're going to be long-term goals.
Yeah.
The instant impact in each of our districts is going to be the immediate cash that we can put on the ground to change lives in our community. And so that's going to be critical to me for support. And I'm just trying to get us to where we are to make others feel comfortable, Chad.
Yes,
and that's what I mean.
Okay, Chad, I had a couple more comments, but go ahead.
One quick comment is, I want to reiterate to the board that the numbers in the offer, I mean, the last thing that I ever want to do is to put a number out front that I don't feel 1,000% confident that I can execute on. So these numbers are through financial models where institutional capital investors and lenders have debt service coverage requirements. There's minimum return thresholds. There's all these things. So it's not just flippant to go up a number. So can we look really hard, and can we come up? The answer to that is yes. I would even suggest with a thought process of not trying to drag on the process, if there's a shorter time period not 60 days, that we could negotiate and see if we could come to an agreement between the county and us. And then if we can't, and then you could move on to another developer. There is absolutely gas in the tank, Chairman May, and we would love to look at this holistically under a PSA agreement with all the terms in front of us, understanding, really would love to have a sit-down conversation and understand the optionality. What if, how would this be looked at if we did keep some public and we did have a public-private partnership? How would that valuation be affected? Those are all very pertinent points and very viable outcomes that what could take place. I understand, the headline of a number, and we would work to get as close to that number, if not beyond, if the structure makes sense. But I understand. I mean, I understand your question and where you're at, and I think it's right to ask that. But I very much believe in our platforms. I very much believe in being outcome focused. And I do think there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you're thinking of potentially looking at a public-private partnership. And that's a lot to consider. So to engage and negotiate a structure and a partnership within a PSA of how that could work, that is a big element to all of this.
Okay, I had a couple more comments and we can go back through. So the other thing, I think that the board, and thanks, Chad, you can stay there if you want, or you can sit down. The master plan obviously is something that we all want, the intent of that's been made clear with the DPZ. And so I started out how you make a decision. If I didn't know any of you folks in here, which I do, and I like a lot of you, I get a cert, and I'm blindfolded, and I go through the criteria. And I base my decision based on the factors that we went over. And some of the things that came up, you're right, I don't know the negotiating factor. No one on this board knows the exact revenue we're going to get from jobs. We don't know that. We just know what you've historically done, and you've done very successful at that. I don't know if you're going to do better or worse. I looked up both your portfolios in depth. I sat up at night just yeah, I think I know you guys better than yourself now. But I've looked at it. I know you both are competitive, and you both know you're competitive. Let's be honest. You know you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So for me, Chad, if there wasn't a price difference in the other things, I had every intention to go in with you tonight. But I can't lose $7.5 million. I can't say, I'll look like the stupidest politician on earth. The headlines will be, Board of County Commissioner gives up $7.5 million. They're not going to say the jobs because we don't know them. And I can only go by what I have here as a proposal tonight. That's what I have.
Mr. Chairman, can I interject something?
Of course you can.
So we have, Mike, we have engaged in negotiations with that entity for a period of time previously. I don't know if you remember the details of the negotiation, but we would make edits to the contract that came to us that would be stricken, language that would be stricken out as unacceptable to the county. And the language would be reinserted when the new proposal came back. We've given, to some degree, we've had an opportunity to negotiate with the entity. I don't see how it's unreasonable to take an opportunity to negotiate with another entity. Like I said, until the offer came in and during public forum or whatever time we got the offers were the same. So, I do kind of,
my job.
I think it's a little bit of, to say you'd be the stupidest politician in the world to walk away from that. If the money was sitting on the table, perhaps. The money's not sitting on the table. To some degree, you have to apply the intangible likelihood of the receipt of the money, and that's important.
So you don't believe that Beulah Center will get to an agreement? I guess that's what I'm hearing from you.
I think that it's possible. It would be unfair of me to say that I don't think that we could get to an agreement. It's reasonable of me to think that, it's reasonable of me to say that I don't know that we can. It's unfair for me to say we won't. I mean, we try to never say always and never, so sure, it's possible, but it would be different than the negotiations last time. That's my point. I mean,
See,
I've said what I've said tonight. I said what I said in December, and whatever the majority of y'all want to do is fine.
Commissioner Stroberger's up next.
And all I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is this, simply, if we're going to gain respect, and I know someone said, well, we already did an RFQ we put out. We didn't. If I'm going to sell my house, I sell real estate, you sell real estate, not at this level. This is the bottom line of what I'm going to take. In negotiation, it's simply, if 50 million is the number that we're going to accept, that's just the number we're going to accept. Go negotiate all the other terms. This is the term, and you go negotiate it. You know what I mean? And that's all I was saying when we put the parameters. We want this many jobs. We want this much money. We want this many residential. That's fair to any developer. And so now we're letting someone else drive the train. I mean, our bottom line, and I'm with you, Cole. I want the top dollar, but at the same time, I'm not going to keep moving the needle. I'm not going to keep moving the needle. But at the same time, what is the number that we want to accept? I mean, we've had that number many times. I said in the beginning it was a $50 million deal. Some people said it's $20 million. No, it's $25 million. It's $35 million. We keep moving the needle.
Well,
I think
I
at some
agree.
point we make a decision and say, this is what we're going to accept in the negotiation. We're not going to accept anything less. We want this many jobs on this many acreage, this much money, and it's that simple. And we tell the experts, go negotiate that deal. And if you can't negotiate it, come back and we'll negotiate with somebody else. Even if it's not either one of these guys, we would negotiate with somebody else. But I say all that on the premise, Mike. I see where you're going. And, $7 million may not mean something to somebody else, but it means something to me. Jobs certainly are more important, but the $7 million means a lot to me as well.
Well, I had a number in my head that, and I'm not going to say what it was, but it wasn't that much. And that's why it's just hard in those situations, because I got to make a decision on what's on the table now to try to get a contract, and that's what I have.
Well, they
So-
did say they would go up, and knowing what it feels like to negotiate real estate, standing there and doing a live auction is extremely uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable when we did it last time, so I
Yeah.
don't want to put any of these guys through that. And to me, if it's job creation, which I think we all agree is top priority, The question really is, who do we believe is going to provide the highest paying jobs and the most of them for this piece of property?
I appreciate that, I agree with that. I don't have a metric to prove those results, and we won't until we get it built. Commissioner Stroberger's
Yeah,
next.
God, we trust all
Hey, I've been waiting patiently. Hold on.
Let's keep it civil, everyone.
Look, it seemed like a moment ago we already went into negotiations when I don't think it's fair to be doing that anyway, right? Like Ashley's saying. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to Ryan. I mean, I think I had probably spoken to all of you, and I said that the dollar amount for the property is not as important to me as what happens on the property. And we know the property is probably worth more than what we're talking about, you know? But I think that you all have the same ability to create jobs out there. I know that you do. And $7.5 million is a tiebreaker for me. It is. It's a tiebreaker for me. I mean, we're asking Tri-West, can you do better? You know, right here. That's not fair to do that because we're not asking you if you can do better. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be doing this. But having said that, I'm ready to make a motion whenever we're done discussing it.
Is there any other
No,
comments?
with that, I guess, I mean, the sad thing about it is we are negotiating, and, you know, I don't think it's in bad faith. I think it's not in good environment. So, am I clear from, you know, from each one of these, it's 50 million, 42 million, 45, and I would ask all three the same question. Are those going once, going twice, are those the numbers? Which clearly, you know.
Can I follow up a question to that?
Sure.
Do we want to set what we want to take and then?
That's what I would have done in the beginning.
Well, set like a number, right? So if it's 47.5, it's 47.5.
I say we
And
set it
then-
at 50, that's where we're at, and we don't go up anymore.
And then if everybody agrees to that, we vote from there?
I'm good with that because, I mean, the thing that I said to Mr. Henderson was when he got to 42.5, you know, that's it. And now we're moving the needle. I think you know, sometimes you lose in real estate, sometimes you win. As Stroberger said, we know it's worth more than that.
That's one parameter we can set tonight.
Yeah, set the dang parameter. I mean,
And then
that's
we
all.
won't be in this, and we'll decide as a board, this is our top.
Right, and all I was saying, when you put out an RFQ and RFP, here's the criteria in which you want. And, you know, I've been on enough search committees to understand this. I'm not a developer, but this is the bottom line of what we want. We've never, I mean, in fairness, and I'm ready to make a decision tonight. I'm not going to kick this down the road. How many jobs do I want? How many acres am I going to give up? How much money am I going to take? It's simple. And you can either meet that criteria or not. And if we gave that number to Chad, well, he didn't even need to show up tonight. And if we gave it to Fred, he didn't need to show up tonight. You know what I mean? And it's what it is. And then we just hold people accountable. And that's my opinion, Ashley, that we give people the parameters. Well, I mean, this is like all whatever they decide, just throw some paint up against the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks. But it should be more of a science than an art in criteria of what we expect. I mean, we're being very judgmental, and we're making it more political than it needs to be. I mean, it needs to be a real proposal. I mean, like we would do any bid and any procurement that we do with taxpayer dollars. And that's not the only point, Ashley. But I'll do whatever you want to do, I'm ready to make a decision, and I'll do whatever y'all want to do.
I agree with that. Allison, question for you. So we pick somebody tonight, and we're like, hey, go negotiate, saying they're going to be responsive. How soon of a turnaround could we expect from your office? Is that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
It's almost impossible for me to answer that, because if we get in it and we're not agreeing for some reason, but I can say we have very good relationships with all three of these groups' attorneys. They're people that I can work with. So I would think 30 to 60 days is a reasonable amount of time to know if we're going to be able to get.
Can we set that at 30? I think that was something Commissioner Berry mentioned earlier, was shortening that time frame.
That's what you want. I'm good. I'm whatever you want. I don't care.
So do you want to name a
if they
price
want to
and
do
then
that, well,
30 days?
So what are you saying, Ashley? We're going to set the criteria, and she's going to negotiate, and whoever
30
negotiates set the
days,
criteria.
50
then that's who
million.
you're gonna
So
get.
I would recommend that tonight we say, hey, we're going to take $47 million for it. We want a negotiated contract within 30 days. Do you guys agree? They say yes, and then from there, we pick who we want to go with. And then we direct Allison to negotiate with that one person.
I think the bar has been set at 50 million. We have to start at $50 million. I don't want to split the difference between the two of them to see who can, if one can afford the other price.
All right,
I think we
Mr.
need
Chairman,
to-
for what,
Let's go.
all right, Mr. Chairman, for whatever it's worth, and I, may appear to have failed again advocating, but the item is on the agenda as it is. We have proposals that have been made from applicants. If we're going to say 30 days that we would expect a contract to come back, then let's just take an action to, or the majority of you, to take an action to negotiate with one of the developers. There's only 5 of us. There's not 15 to manage. If Wes and Allison can't ascertain from at least 3 of us what those handful of figures that are important to us, what those figures are, then we're not going to get there anyway. Rather than trying to say, well, I think the figure should be 45, I think it should be 50, I think we should have 4,000 jobs at least on the 270 acres that's set aside for economic development. Well, I think we should have 3,000 jobs. Rather than doing that, if we're gonna, it's only 30. If what we're saying is we think we can do it in 30 days, okay. So let's just say it's only another 30 days. Let's try to enter into negotiations with somebody and bring a contract back in 30 days, even if it's not my direction, rather than trying to go piecemeal with parameters as well.
I like that. I like having some definity so these guys don't keep living in limbo too, though. But Steve, Commissioner Stroberger, you had your light on.
Are you ready to entertain a
Well, I guess we've all
motion?
talked. It's up to you.
Commissioner Beer, you're saying that there's not a top-end number, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, there is. There's a top-end number that matters to me. I'm comfortable communicating that with Wes and Allison. I'll deal with that during these 30 days. I'm comfortable expressing the minutia of things that are important to me, because let me tell you, it's not just a top number in jobs. There's a dozen things that are going to be important to me in the contract, and I'm not going to sit up here tonight and lay those out on a menu. But there are a lot more than the purchase price, the due diligence time period, or the job creation. There's a lot of other things that are going to go into a contract. And if you want to make a big mistake as a board, let's enter into a contract that we give up the entitlements to the property that we've allowed somebody to encumber the entire property with bad terms of a contract.
Yeah.
Let's see how,
Right.
the ramifications of that are much worse than making a decision tonight to try with somebody for 30 days, even if it's not what I want. Okay, then let's just try with somebody else and see how it goes.
And I respect that, and I agree with that, Commissioner Beer. All I would add, and see if you'd be comfortable, I mean, if the top line, what Commissioner Stroberger said, he wasn't interested in what Commissioner Hofberger said at 47. I mean, if the bottom line, the value, and not the actual cash is $50 million, it may be backed out by what becomes public, what becomes private, and start that as the negotiating number. And so that's value. It may not be actual cash. It may be whatever. And so I'm laying that over to you to get your thoughts. But again, I'm gonna yield to you guys and try not to be here to midnight.
I don't know that anybody's yielding to my opinion, which is fine, but
Actually, Steve,
let's
I'm
do something.
listening to you, and I hear
Let's
the
try
30 days.
Let's try to negotiate with somebody and see how it goes.
Commissioner Stroberger, you had your light on.
I'd like to make a motion.
Make a
You
motion.
guys ready to hear it? I move that we direct county staff to begin negotiations with the Beulah Town Center LLC for the 540 acres of OLF8. I'd also like to use the DPZ master plan as a restrictive deed in our negotiations. Does that sound good?
30 days?
I think 30 days is too short. I think because...
So your motion's including the current DPZ plan as a restrictive deed in that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with 30 days honestly, Steve,
Is
'Cause I
30
think that
days too
Commissioner
short, Allison? I mean, given the negotiations?
It's
I
hard
mean,
to know until we get into it,
Yeah.
if it's going to be challenging or not. 60 days seems really
It seems a little
workable,
more reasonable, I think.
Because the meetings are every 2 weeks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really tough if you say 30 days, but if that's what the board directs, I'll certainly do my best. 60 days is more reasonable. 90's kind of, by then, we should absolutely know. 60's a good soft spot, in my opinion.
60. Say 60.
Okay, there's a motion on the table for 60 days. Is there a second? I'll second. Please vote. And can we do it electronically?
And if there's discussion, Mr. Chairman, I mean, for me, I
Hold
just
on.
think it.
Commissioner Mays coming back to table.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a discussion because he's made a motion and second and for discussion, is that I think that we should have set up a limit in negotiation and allowed for her to negotiate without closing the door on any developer at this point. And that's just how I feel, because I don't know if they're going to get there in 30 days or 60 days. I can agree with the maximum number, although, some people may not agree with it. I mean, we got somebody at 42, 45. I mean, who negotiates with the terms that we get, then that's fine. You know what I mean? But, I mean, when we make this decision, we say, well, we want people to be available. I mean, no one's going to still be available once we make this decision. It's going to start another 3 to 5 year process of getting a developer to come in if we can't close this deal.
The only thing, and you guys know this, and we've been doing this for 2 years. We've had the same discussions.
Yeah.
And for me, it's time to move.
Oh, I'm ready to make a vote.
I mean, so.
I just wanted the parameters. So, I mean, we'll
So
make a vote.
there's an motion, a second, unless there's not any other comments. I'd like to do an e-vote. Please vote. Okay. The motion fails.
Can I make a
Is it-
motion?
Yeah. Do you have a second motion? Or do you want, motion fails 2-3? Ashley, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with negotiating with Tri-W Development and that we get a agreed-upon contract within 30 days.
Or is there a
What's the
set
contract
price?
amount?
Question, what was that?
What's the contract amount?
I think that's to be negotiated with the terms, but not to fall below the initial offer of 42.5.
So I don't know how it falls, but for me, I can't support it, and I've told them that.
I can't either, Ashley, with that
I
price.
can't vote against, $50 million for somebody else and do that. That's going to be a tough vote for me.
No, I
But
second
I'm
the-
just saying, and that's fine.
I second the motion.
Okay, is there any further discussion at this point on that motion? You have your light on. Did you want to say something else?
Well, I mean, I would ask the commissioner that made the motion to withdraw it, to at least ask the question until Mr. Henderson, because I think you've been very clear and I've been very clear how we're going to vote before we do that. And so if a motion is made, there's no more deliberation, so.
Actually, I think you don't have to. We can vote, but I would
You can-
ask
we can
you
vote,
to
but I can
ask
just tell you
Chad
how
and
it's gonna
see if
end up.
Because we may be able to get there
And then we're going to be right back here where we were before.
Just,
Is that okay?
And I get where you're at,
Just
Steve.
vote and vote it down, and then we'll take no action.
Well, I don't want to not take an action.
Chad, come up. Knowing what you know now, where are you at?
Raise my price through a negotiation with the county. I mean, I told you I had gas in the tank, but I want to do it holistically with a purchase and sale agreement that I feel good about executing on. I'm aware of where we were before. I'm aware of where the other offers are. I believe we offer great value, but I'm willing to negotiate a price higher than I'm at right now.
Can you give us a dollar on that? That would be very helpful. Can you give us a dollar on that? That would be very helpful.
Can you negotiate up to 50 million, Chad?
It'd make our life easier, Chad.
I'm sorry?
It'd make our life easier. I think we could get to the finish line maybe, but
mean, this platform, I mean, I'm willing to negotiate a price higher than 42.5. I realize that there is an offer at 50 million and 45, and I can tell you that I will be competitive with those offers to a negotiation of understanding the entire aspect of a purchase and sales agreement. So, Mr. May, I will go up in a range of higher than I'm at now,
get there,
but
guys.
I'm not going to go higher than 50 million.
What can you get to? I want to get to a deal tonight.
Mr. Chair, so what you're telling the citizens right now of Escambia County is that you're voting on price, correct? Not most qualified, price?
I don't.
That's what you're
well,
saying. You're saying that you're voting on price,
Mayor Hayward.
not qualifications.
No, you're saying that the other party's not qualified, and I think you're both qualified, so I would disagree with that statement. Well, we had a motion and a second.
What was the number, Chad? He never left Ashley with a number.
Okay, we'll give him a second. They're in conversation.
I mean, should we be giving Beulah Town Center to go back up
no,
there
we
and
have-
ask for?
I
would like to, I just would like to, we're going to rescind our offer at this time, and move forward with the other party, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll understand, but we are rescinding our offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chance. Sorry about that. Does the board want to reconsider the other offer?
Ashley, you withdraw your motion, presumably?
Withdraw the motion withdrawn.
Yeah, okay. All right, my second's withdrawn. And, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Is there an appetite to revisit the Beulah Center? I think we should go into some contract for 30 days. I really think we need to try, guys.
I was trying to get there.
Does Steve, you want to try again?
Yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with my own move. So I don't know, we just go back to that. I still think 30 days is too short. I still think it's too short. I know it's going to be rough. There's a lot of language we got to fix. I'll do 30 if that's what it takes.
I'm okay with 60. Allison says 60's fine.
I think 60. So I'd like to make a motion again that we direct county staff to begin negotiations with the Beulah Town Center LLC for the 540 acres of OLF8.
Is there a second?
Are you including in the motion the restrictive, the DPZ master plan being part of a restrictive deed?
Yes.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
That means it's kind of our guiding light. It's try to keep their feet to the fire to meet the master plan the way we've always talked about. And I think they understand what we're talking about.
Okay, Commissioner Stroberger has a motion.
I have a question on that. So if that is part of the motion, and then they don't agree to, Allison, if they don't agree to that in the contract, what does that mean for us?
If they don't, then I would imagine that it falls apart, if that's what the board wants to do. That's something we had proposed as a way of ensuring, because it's a unique situation where we own the real estate, and that was one of the steps that we thought could be done to help protect us with the live local preemption floating around out there. It's a way to help protect the future of our own real estate. We can certainly look at other options if the board directs us to not do that, but we thought it would be a way to help protect the future of the real estate.
So that would be a non-negotiable, and if that wasn't agreed to in the contract, then essentially it would fall apart?
It would be up to the board.
Okay.
And actually, that's the reason I thought we should set a number. It doesn't matter, the number's 42, 45. They didn't even put that in their proposal that they're going to be confined to that plan. We don't know whether they're going to do that plan, and then we're going to be right back together. That's why, in my opinion, to get it out of a political spectrum, we could allow for staff to go and negotiate with our parameters and bring back the person that would live up to what we said, rather than us make a political decision tonight. And so I wanted to move forward. I mean, and that's going to be tough, because now we're voting for them, and it's going to come back, and they're going to say there's a nuance in here that we're just not going to support. We can't do that. We can't live with that plan. And then they come back. And so that's why I was making that recommendation. But I mean, it's landed where it's landed.
There's a Ryan, I know you haven't had a chance to talk. We got a motion on the table. Is there a second? All right, I'll second. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I offer substitute motions.
Okay, what's that?
That,
Well, we have a motion second. You want to, is this, we're in discussion now on what you want to?
it's just a substitute motion.
Okay, what
I
is
can get
it?
a second, or it can be denied.
What would you like to
That,
do?
with the parameters that we have, that the staff is allowed to negotiate with all three developers and come back with a contract within the parameters in which we have.
Al's
At-
looking
at the
stressed
fifth
over
meeting.
there,
It
Commissioner
doesn't
Ray.
matter about being stressed. She can
No.
negotiate and bring it
I
back.
think that's what we tried to do last month, which is, wasn't a,
We never tried.
it was a
She's never-
no-starter, though. We can't do that.
No, you can't. Within the parameters, she could.
I think it's virtually impossible to send us off to do that without more direction from you all. It's almost impossible for us to know what you're wanting, what you're after. If you can't figure that out, I certainly can't guess.
I think that you've heard, $50 million, the parameters of the DPZ
100,000
plan.
deposit, 60 days.
I think 60, I think that
jobs.
we've been pretty clear on that. And whether or not these developers can live with that or not.
I don't see a problem with going 30 days and see if we can get there. If not, we're going to be in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean,
And so, I mean, the other guys walked out. They wouldn't give us a number. These guys, they've been here from the beginning. It seems like it's political now to me, and I don't want it to be political. We got a deal on the table that we can try. We've never had this kind of money on the table. I mean, you know what I was told when I first got in here, how much we were going to get for the OLF 8? You guys want to know?
Yeah.
I don't want to even say it.
Yeah.
We're in a whole nother realm now if we can get to a deal. It's a business decision for me, man. So, hey, if it goes down, it goes down, and then maybe we can do the contract. So, no one wants to second it?
I think you just seconded it.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll second. Okay, is there any further discussion,
With 30
Commissioner
days?
May?
With 30 days?
30 days.
30 days.
There you go, negotiation.
We had a substitute motion. Can we go back to whether or not the substitute motion fails for lack of a second, and then we can go to the underlying motion?
I rescinded it. It failed for a lack of second.
Perfect.
And Board, if you wouldn't mind, can I please get that motion restated one more time, just clearly for the record, so we can make sure we get it right in the end?
Yeah, a motion is to direct the county staff to begin negotiations with Beulah Town Center LLC for the 540 acres, the whole thing of OLF 8. And I'd like to use the DPZ master plan as a restricted deed. Okay.
And I second it.
In 30 days, so what, in 30, it has to be negotiated in 30 days?
What? I think that shows that we can maybe get to a contract. Yeah, I'd
I
like to
think
do
that we
that.
can
Maybe
use
go into
30
45, but
I
I
think
want
we
to
can-
either move forward.
So I don't think we're going to get done in 30 days, but we can start at 30 days, and maybe we see the negotiation is moving adequately, we can give it another 30.
We can report back to you at the February 6th board meeting.
Yeah.
which is
I think we need to
daylight
put a
20.
timeline on this. Like, this has drug out long enough, and
Do it, we're gonna do it. I mean, yeah, I mean, either we make a decision or we don't. I'm not gonna vote for a continuation of coming back
All right.
February 6th with a
Please,
report.
Commissioner, do you
I
have
mean,
something
either
else?
we do it or we don't.
Yes.
I'm sorry, please, your comments?
So, Commissioner Hoffberg, I want to express, I appreciate your support earlier. What are your thoughts about this? I can live with this. As far as entering into negotiations, it would be, as a couple of our colleagues have indicated, you know, it's nice to move forward as a 5-0, as 5-0 when it's possible. All we're doing, as I've mentioned, you know, I think I've mentioned a number of times, is entering into negotiations with somebody. It's relatively harmless if we can't get to terms that are acceptable. I can live with giving it another try with them. What are your thoughts? Okay, all right. And, you know, I like Will, I like Fred, I like Brian, I like Chad Horn. You know, there's
Thanks,
not an
Steve.
issue.
Honestly, I appreciate
There's
that.
not an issue with any of that personally. You know, I had a lot of confidence in a couple of the projects from the other group, but that's off the table now. So, you know,
Well, you know.
There's value in a collegial spirit, and let's see, we can give it a shot.
Okay.
Commissioner Berry, I just want to say, and we're in discussion right now. I could have went with Tri-West in a heartbeat if they would have just moved a little bit, but they obviously left the room. So I appreciate you. Let's try one more time. And Fred and team, you better get in nitty-gritty and work with our staff. So there's a
And
motion.
like, they left the room because we're trying to negotiate something from a dais that's really
Yes.
It's kind of our job,
inappropriate.
though.
We were
Yeah,
trying
we're
to
trying to
squeeze
negotiate
them. We were
something.
trying to squeeze
We-
them
we
for more
can't
money.
negotiate this
And
deal
I don't
from
think
the
that was fair to
dais.
them either.
No,
It's not fair,
I
it's
mean,
not
it's just-
fair to
we
Beulah Town
had to
Center
set
either.
a bottom line number and say that's what we're going to accept. And if someone wants to give a number, then they don't give a number. And so
I think
that's
we
why
can-
I couldn't support the motion going forward. I mean, that's, you know,
We can add
I
the
didn't vote
gridlock
against
right
them.
now. We can add the gridlock. Let's have a vote. We got a
I
second.
mean, so.
Any
I
more
mean,
comments? All right, please vote electronically on the motion in the second.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I apologize to keep interrupting. I just wanted to clarify the timeline, because I've heard 30 and 60. I want to make sure we have it right.
And if we could speak one person at a time for the record, that would be helpful. We're having issues.
30 days.
Okay. Any further questions? Are we good? All right, let's vote. E-vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, thank you. I know that was tough for all of us, and we'll see where we end up. Congratulations, you got 30 days. I'll let you, Fred, since it's just such a big deal for the county, to say something quickly.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I mean, we've been working on this for 5 or 6 years, and I know it's been very frustrating for all of you, us, people behind us, and thank you for your patience, and we look forward to delivering.
Don't make us look bad, and bring some
No,
jobs.
We don't want to look bad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Commissioner Hoffberger's asking for a 5-minute recess. Is that okay? I think that comfort break.
Yeah, we got a second discussion item.
Board of County Commissioner meetings will reconvene. We're moving on to the county attorney's report. Do
No,
we have a quorum?
we do have one.
One more discussion item.
Oh, we do?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have one more discussion item.
It's the State Parimutuel Card Rooms Ordinance. Commissioner Stroberger is asked to have this placed on the agenda.
This is about the something
Parimutuel.
with poker, Steve. What's the discussion about? Madam
Are we ready to
Counsel,
talk
do you
about
want to, yeah, would you like to say something
I
about
can
this?
explain this one.
Okay.
Okay, so under Florida law, there is such a thing as a parimutuel wagering license, and there is only allowed to be one per every 100 miles within the state of Florida. We have one. It's the former Greyhound track. The owners of the Greyhound track have, since 2021, indicated an interest in moving that facility to another location. I can't speak for them. Will Dunaway actually, I believe, is representing them. But anyway, our zoning code does not specifically say where parimutuel wagering is allowed. There are some zoning categories where arguably it may or may not belong. So this would be sending back to the planning board an ordinance that could be created to specify which zoning categories they would be allowed in. There is a certain property that is currently under contract by the owners of the Greyhound track where they know that they're interested in moving to, and so this would help the planning department in resolving this issue. The planning board would have to make a recommendation to you all, and it would take 2 public hearings before you all to establish a new zoning designation.
Is Will speaking on this? Yeah?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm Will Dunaway, 125 East Intendencia, and I do represent the client who holds the only license for the parimutuel in the county. Commissioners, we don't believe you need an ordinance. You have thousands of uses in Escambia County that are not listed in your land development code as permitted uses. I'll give you one example. Axe throwing. It's not listed as a permitted use anywhere in your code, and that you have an axe throwing establishment in a commercial zoning right next to Navy Federal. You do not have to have an ordinance that says you have parimutuel betting in a particular zoning class. You have it now. They're playing cards tonight. So all we're asking in this case was for your Development Services Office to sign a piece of paper, a land verification certificate, which says, this is an allowable use in this area, in this district. It's commercial. This is where you want parimutuel. You want it in a commercial area. This is all. Then we take that land use certificate and we take it to the state, and they allow us to move the permit from this location to that location. That's what's holding it up. And that's what we're requesting. You do not need an ordinance to do this. Simply direct your Development Services staff to sign the land verification, which says parimutuel, this gaming, which is only going to be one. It's not a slippery slope. You're not going to have a whole bunch of bars. You're not going to have a whole bunch of card chip. It's only one license. It's a 100-mile exclusion. You're not going to have another one. There's only one. It exists now. It's over where in the location where it was. It's moving because the dog tracked the whole 9 yards. But in any event, all you need is to tell Development Services, sign the land use verification letter. That's where we want it. You don't need an ordinance.
I have a question. Is that verification letter specific to this piece of property, or so it would be?
Yes, ma'am. It is this. We identified this particular parcel, the parcel that's under contract, which is with money going hard next week. We submitted this, almost 60 days ago. It's a routine function. We believe that it is an easy fix. The idea that it's not listed as a permitted use is not an impediment to move forward, because again, you have thousands of uses that businesses come up with that are not listed as permitted uses. This is not an impediment.
Mr. Chairman, can I say?
Yes, Commissioner Berry.
So I'm supportive of the item if that's the direction that we went. If the conversation would be, based on what Mr. Dunaway said, if that would be part of the discussion of the board, I think I'd be probably maybe more supportive of that, just because I think if you have a land and use certification letter that identifies the parcel, you know, versus changing the code or expanding the code, I think, in my opinion, you reduce the risk of the transferability, because once it's identified as a use in a zone, if it goes there, that's fantastic. But, you know, Mr. Dunaway said money goes hard next week. You know, money goes hard on contracts semi-frequently that still don't close. And if our action would be to change the definitions in the code or change the code to allow that, and then something didn't happen with that, the contract didn't close, even though money went hard, the contract didn't close, then there's still only one license, but instead of this one parcel being identified, it could be a different parcel that is zoned the same, that may be in a place that is less desirable to the board, where if Mr. Dunaway was able to get that certificate, it would be defined to this one use. And this, I mean, I think that broadly speaking, this is one of the things that we challenge with, that we struggle with in rezonings, where the rezoning, you know, so often we would be supportive of the project that's being proposed at the parcel, but the rezoning that we're giving is not dependent upon the project. That deal could fall through, and then we'd be stuck with apartments on a piece of property. So in this case, and you know, I'm going to give a lot of deference to my colleague, but I think that there's more. I think we're reducing the risk or mitigating the risk as well as possible if we define the allowance to the one parcel, in my opinion.
I don't know enough about this, but I respect that what you said. It sounds reasonable to me. Or was it Steve?
Well, why don't we review the ordinance first? When we send it back to the planning board for review, give us some time to think about it. Decision space, you talk about that all the time. I've looked at that area where it's at, and
On dog track, right?
no, it's
Oh,
dog track's the old
The one will
location.
move from dog track, right? Is that where we'll move to, wherever the site
it's
is? I think
moving
it's
to-
at the old Greyhound track, right?
Yes,
In-
that's right. That's where
Interstate
that's where the
Circle is where
license
it's
is
gonna
now. We're looking at another piece of property, and Commissioner Berry is absolutely correct. This is a targeted way of controlling it by just putting it on one parcel. He's absolutely correct. If you send it back and you change the ordinance, and now you make it a permitted use in commercial, well, as you know, there's a lot of commercial properties. Now, I mean, again, my client sent me here to get this land use verification because this is the property that they've identified. You will recall, or those of you who are on the commission will recall, that this is the second time we've come through. We identified a piece of property earlier, and it turns out that that was not a good location, and we moved on from that. Okay, this is a location that you know, your staff knows. I think if you ask your staff, they would tell you this is a more targeted way also of solving it, because you know the parcel, you know the use. If the parcel doesn't close, as Commissioner Berry says, then we would have to come back to you for the next parcel. We wouldn't have to do that if you changed it and made it a permitted use in an entire zoning.
Okay. Commissioner?
Drew, you have anything to add to that?
Mr. Dunaway's request is for an interpretation, okay? Our land development code, for any interpretation on the zoning districts, any of those uses, it falls upon my department director. What they're trying to say is, in this one, the state does regulate this, there can be only one. And they're asking for that interpretation to apply to one specific parcel of land. It does, going in the other direction would be, as Commissioner Berry pointed out, opening it up for all districts with whatever zoning district it was to be allowed in. This narrows the focus to one parcel, sorry.
But our director making that interpretation creates other issues, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. According to the Land Development Code of Escambia County,
The code says if I make an interpretation, the code says that it cannot be arbitrary or capricious. It cannot be site-specific. It will have to apply county-wide. So if I make a formal interpretation, it have to apply county-wide. What that has the tendency to allow for, that's the Land Development Code. That's the tendency, that is, this deal does not go through, there's the opportunity for this interpretation that I made, this is the Land Development Code, to basically go in any other zoning district, because my interpretation cannot be arbitrary or site-specific. This is why bringing it with the planning board, it can come in as an ordinance if there is conditions that can be placed upon. This is what the Land Development Code says, not my personal opinion. I'm just saying what the code says and what the code says about my authority when I make interpretations. It cannot be site-specific. It applies county-wide, and that means that basically it comes through the site plan review process and get a development order, and it may have some other repercussions. This is why the planning board let it get vetted, but we will follow the desires of this board, like always.
So knowing that we want to keep it site-specific, what would be your best solution to that? Should we create a specific zoning for that site? Labeled like gaming, whatever?
The zoning category, the code says that if a use is not listed as a permitted use, and this use is not listed as a permitted use, the code says that it is prohibited. Yes, it may be similar to recreation, and I know that Mr. Will Dunaway can attest to this. There are stringent, very, very stringent site plan review requirements. So a clear path to me, but I'm definitely willing to do what the board says. Planning board, they vet it properly. He'd be there like we did in 2021. It went before the planning board. It was vetted properly. Mr. Will Dunaway was there. There was a collaborative ordinance that was put forth. So it'll make it cleaner, and possibly, because again, if I make site-specific interpretations, I'll be violating the code, and that could cause other problems. If I don't, you did it for them, you have to do it for me too. So that's my concern according to the regulations of the Land Development Code. That's the concern.
Okay, so.
Okay, whatever y'all would like to do. And I'm, halfway looking at Steve, whatever you'd like to do. If you want to send it back to the planning board, then okay.
Steve, Steve Stroberg, you brought it up. What's the recommendation?
Yeah, that's what I recommend, that we send it back to the planning board to review that draft ordinance.
Is that okay?
Since it was just a discussion item, we don't need to vote on that, right?
Well, if we want some action to happen, then we need to vote on it.
Okay.
Can I, Allison, you and I had a conversation. I don't think I repeated that conversation correctly. Can you reiterate it in a way that everybody understands?
Right. So assuming you need to have, you could do what you're suggesting, Commissioner Hoffberger, which is create a zoning district that is specific for gaming or pari-mutuel wagering. I think that the challenge is one based on time, which is, okay, if we do an ordinance that creates that new zoning category, the problem is then we have to take this site specific and rezone it to that category, which is probably going to take them longer than if you just make an ordinance that makes it a permitted use under the existing zoning, which is HCLI. The concern is, of course, what your planning director is saying is, well, then that would open up all other HCLI.
Isn't that what Commissioner Berry, that's what you wanted to do, right?
The ordinance that we would be sending back is for interpretation.
No, what is being requested is to take the draft ordinance, which was created in 2021 when this last came up, send it to the planning board and let the planning board make a recommendation on whether or not to have you guys have 2 public hearings to amend the ordinance. The interpretation is one that the planning director makes. He's made the interpretation now that we need to amend the ordinance. This is asking that the planning board make a recommendation to you all to create an amendment to the ordinance of HCLI. And in fact, that ordinance even says in commercial as well.
Yeah, an amendment to the ordinance. It's not a new zoning category. though.
Correct. But the question that Commissioner Hoffberger is asking is, can't we just have something
I'm
that would be
sorry, okay.
specific to this property called gaming? You could create a new zoning category. You could do that and only have one property in the whole county that is gaming zoning. You could do that. But I think for these guys, that creates a longer solution, and that may not be ideal for them. They're already frustrated because the money on their contract is going hard next week.
Well,
I'm just trying to.
I understand and happy to help. So what was brought to us is asking them to basically make an amendment to add this to commercial and HCLI. That's what's on the table.
That is the draft that we are talking about sending back to the planning board for
Okay.
them to make a recommendation on. That's not necessarily maybe what you guys want to do, but that's
Oh.
the question.
That's more, well, it appears to me as if that would be more expedient than trying to create a new category. If that's the intent, I'm okay with that.
My only concern with that is last time they looked at property, it was right outside of Pensacola Christian College, and I don't want a gaming facility right outside of a Christian university. So if this deal does fall through, I don't want them to be able to take that new ordinance and say, okay, well, this is the property I
And
now
having,
want.
and having been on the board at that time, as my dear friend was to my left, that's why that didn't make it to even a discussion at our board level. So, I mean,
So, I guess, do we need to vote, according to Commissioner Berry, do we have a motion to go forward with this?
I mean, if what Ellison says is true, you can make it an isolated incident. That's one thing. But if we listen to what Har's saying, and you're making it a precedent where you can do gaming, I mean, I got people going to be coming forth with cannabis and gaming and a lot of things here in the near future in my district. And so,
well, there's only one gaming facility that's allowed within 100 miles. There's no other gaming that's legal in Florida.
Unless
Okay. All right. Well, my
it's
bad.
Native American owned though, correct?
I'm sorry?
Unless the Native Americans could put in another gaming facility if we open this up, correct? Allison, or no?
That would be a totally separate state law issue under the gaming compact, which the current law would not allow there to be more here locally.
And they would have to strike an agreement with Seminole.
I see what you're
Who are
saying.
they?
If we pass this, this is the only one that could occur here in Escambia County.
There can only be one. That's
So under Florida law,
Currently,
currently,
yeah.
there could only be one within 100 miles.
and
Within the state of Florida. I get that there's Biloxi and Atmore, but within the state of Florida. Commissioner Hoffberger's solution would be the most laser pinpoint, you only get this one place because we're only going to rezone one site to gaming. That's true. But for the current applicant, that's probably a 3 or 4 month solution.
Well, you have a comment?
I'm sorry, one second. Can we put it in the code as it's being presented, with the change to the ordinance, but we put in some language when we put the pits in, that it would have to come to this board, even though they're allowed, could we add the language that said that it's a permitted use, but it takes board approval?
Well, those are conditional uses, and they have to come before the board and get the board to do a quasi-judicial hearing to give a special permit for pits. And I don't know if that's where you want to go with this.
I mean, it's only one possible activity, and that would protect the concern that Commissioner Hoffberger raised. That would protect that because it would give our board the final authority as we have over the pit licenses. That seems like a reasonable solution if we were to ask the planning board to do that. That's also not creating a new zoning category, so it could be done in a more expedited manner than a new zoning category.
Go ahead.
Drew, what do you think?
So I just wanted to give you all another idea that could possibly solve your concerns about where they would put this. So with other vice-type activities, okay, within our Code of Ordinances and our Land Development Code, we have specific measurement requirements from churches and schools. That sort of thing could be put in on this, that this one license, wherever it would go within the confines of the county in that type of zoning, would also have to meet these distance requirements that you could then have a little bit of control on that. So that's just a thought.
What happens if someone else puts in an application
So
within 2 weeks from now?
The Florida Gaming Commission is going to regulate that with their distance
So
requirements.
we're not going to get any more. The Florida Gaming Commission, they got to
Yes,
go
sir.
through them first. So this is the only one we're going to get, period.
That's correct.
I like the restriction idea. I mean, I don't have an issue with that. Does anyone else?
That's a great solution.
All right.
I'm good with that.
Does someone want to make a motion then?
All right, Steve, do you want to make a motion?
I did make a motion, didn't I? Do we need to withdraw it,
We
though?
haven't yet.
Did
It's
we?
getting
Okay,
late. It's
yeah.
not midnight
Okay.
yet.
And this is to send it back to the planning board?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'll make a motion that we send this pari-mutuel card room ordinance back to the planning board for a review of the draft.
All right, with the additional language saying what else?
The restrictions.
For the conditional use or distance restrictions?
Distance
Just the
restrictions.
distance.
Distance restrictions with distance restrictions to be recommended by the planning board.
All right,
That's what I would
is that
say.
your motion, Commissioner?
That's my motion.
All right, I second that motion.
All right, please vote, just hand vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're moving along. We only have 2 more items. We're on to the county attorney report. Allison, you want to talk about number 1?
Number 1, this is asking you guys to accept for purposes of the record. This is related to real estate. This is a good outcome on the 6 cases brought against the county related to the Perdido Key beach easements. I can answer any questions about it.
I actually like the result, so, you know.
Move the county attorney's, or move the county attorney's report.
All right, please hand vote. Motion passes 5-0.
And the discussion item, we did distribute to you all this afternoon the changed, edited version of a county commissioner technology policy. We did loosen up the use of electronic devices during board meetings, simply asking that they be silenced during board meetings. We did loosen up the part about if you post on your personal social media about county business, it just means that you need to make sure you keep up with those posts. And we also changed with regards to enforcement, that any enforcement would only be related to intentional violations of the policy and not accidental, is the idea. If there is any interest in this, the board can certainly vote to put this in place, or you can send us back to the drawing board. It's totally up to the board.
Any comments from the board members?
After speaking with Allison, one, thank you for putting this together, but it became extremely apparent that we need somebody that is in charge of public records request, because we don't have somebody that is dedicated to heading that up.
Oh, well, that's something else, but I love that idea.
So I would like to see that happen along with this, because even Melanie and I had one for District 4, and I'm like, I don't have anything, but I'm sure that the county has something that goes along with this. And then she checked the portal, and there's nothing that's uploaded. So everybody thought that they were doing a good job, but no one's actually owning the process because people are just helping out.
Are you talking a higher position just for that?
I hire somebody, move somebody over, but I think if we're going to be as transparent as possible, which I think was a goal of this board, we need somebody that's dedicated to that.
Okay, I see that as a separate item. I
Okay.
agree with you, but on the technology policy outside the public records request, are you okay with the technology?
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, I do like that. That was one of the things, since you brought that up, Commissioner Hopperger, the public records request is a burden that should not, in my opinion, I mean, I just tell them to just read whatever they want on my computer they can have. I mean, but, you know, everywhere I've been, and I had all kinds of FOIA requests in the medical community. I didn't ask doctors to sit and go through their stuff. Now, I get it, your phone and things like that, you're the custodian and you're responsible to turn that over. But I do like that idea. Any other issues with the technology policy? Can we get this behind us tonight? Okay, is there a motion? Okay, is there a second? Who made the motions? Commissioner Stroberger? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Whoa.
I will second.
All right, please hand vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay, the only thing I want to say before we conclude, our next meeting, as we agreed before, is on Wednesday, March 22nd at 9 a.m. I thank you guys for changing that because of the ACC too. And thank you all for the robust meeting tonight. I truly appreciate
Mike.
the professionalism. Yes, Commissioner Mann.
Mike, the other thing, the staff's going to bring some back in 30 days in the motion. I think it was obvious that jobs were very important. And
I
so
agree.
I hope that, in the negotiations, that nothing's brought back without it's been inclusive of those jobs and that partnership with the jobs. Because
I
if it
believe
is,
we all
can't
made that
support it.
clear. I mean, I heard it loud and clear as well.
Okay.
All right, any other comments before we adjourn? All right, thank y'all.